A man, newly arrived in the city, is greeted by a local as he carries his luggage. The local inquires about his late arrival. The man explains that he just arrived by train and was recently assigned to work in the city. He mentions having to report early the next day. The local remarks that the man must have been lucky to meet him, implying a connection to the man's housing situation. The local adds that the flat is worth the price. They arrive at a building called Sandan Yuan. The man observes that the building looks like it's over 20 years old. The local reassures the man, stating that the building is clean and that the rent is only 800. He encourages the man to have faith in their real estate agency. The man agrees, as long as the flat is livable, even if only for 2 months. The scene shifts to an exterior shot of the building, Sandan Yuan, with a motorcycle parked nearby. Inside the building, the local shows the man to his room. The man is satisfied and states he won't keep the local any longer. The real estate agent, concluding the late-night rental transaction, assures the man, "I'll bring the housing contract over tomorrow. Hope you have a nice rest." The man, settling into his new room in the Sandan Yuan building, slams the door shut with a bang. A close-up on the man's satisfied expression as he takes in his new surroundings. The real estate agent, overcome with joy, exclaims, "This room has finally been rented out." The agent reflects, "Luckily we managed this late at night. Otherwise, the deal would have been jeopardized by the old lady's ghost stories." He dismisses the superstitions, muttering, "It's just superstitions." As he ascends the staircase, he questions, "In this world, how is it possible for something like that to exist?" Suddenly, ghostly, ethereal arms emerge from the darkness, reaching for the man. The man collapsed onto his bed with a thud, exhausted from the day's move. He lay there, muttering about how tired he was. The sounds of the rain outside a stark contrast to his inner exhaustion. As images of his new room and the city outside flashed through his mind as he drifted off to sleep. He slept soundly for a while, his breathing even and regular. Until a sudden chill ran through him, jolting him awake. A shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, its presence filling the room with an unnatural dread. A shadowy, inky substance seeped from the ceiling, its tendrils reaching towards the sleeping man. The dark tendrils flowed over the bedsheets, obscuring the man's form. As tendrils receded, leaving the man seemingly unharmed, but his expression suggested otherwise. An unseen presence attempted to rouse the man, whispering, "Hey, wake up." Another voice, this time more concerned, called out, "Mister?" A woman's voice, sharp and urgent, cut through the air, "Mr. Policeman, you can't wake someone up like that. Look at how it's done." With surprising speed and force, the woman slapped the man across the face. The man awoke with a start, his eyes wide with confusion and pain. The man awoke with a gasp, confused and in pain. Granny Long stood over him, agitated. A real estate agent observed the scene from the stairs, pensively taking notes. The real estate agent, having witnessed the strange interaction, reflected on the situation. He noted that despite sending the tenant away, the underlying issue remained unresolved. The agent expressed concern about the lack of surveillance cameras in the old building, highlighting the difficulty in investigating further. The man, still shaken from his sudden awakening, stared blankly ahead. Granny Long, her eyes filled with concern, questioned the man's continued presence in the room, emphasizing the presence of evil within. She vehemently protested against his disregard for the danger, her words laced with frustration and fear. The real estate agent, dismissing Granny Long's concerns as superstition, confidently asserted that the tenant wouldn't care either. Granny Long, her face contorted with grief and anger, accused the man of causing her grandson's death. "You're the reason for his death," she shrieked. The man, startled by the accusation, reacted with disbelief. "What? He's dead," he exclaimed. Granny Long confirmed the tragic news, explaining that he had died in the very room where the man was found. The real estate agent, however, dismissed her claims, stating that he had died of a heart attack. A crowd gathered, their expressions a mixture of confusion and skepticism. The man, sensing something amiss, felt an unusual aura emanating from the building. He couldn't sense anything specific, but the situation felt increasingly troublesome. He decided to use his cheat, activating his golden nether eye. The power surged, illuminating the scene with a golden light. The enhanced vision revealed a detailed, almost ethereal blueprint of the building and its surroundings, showing the flow of energy and the location of several individuals within the structure. The investigation wasn't progressing as smoothly as he'd hoped. He found the situation troublesome, but also intriguing. Anything too simple wouldn't hold his interest. A young man with silver hair, looking annoyed, was addressed by a small, round child wearing a yellow cap. The child, holding a lollipop, stated, "Big brother, your hand gestures just now." "It's just a brat. I thought that I'd been spotted." The child, seemingly unfazed, proudly declared, "Ninjutsu, I also know some." The young man, surprised, questioned the child's abilities. The child then proceeded to demonstrate a series of quick movements, creating swirling gusts of wind around himself, culminating in a powerful water-based technique that propelled him away. The young man, impressed, admitted, "Kid, I get it. You're awesome." The child, having successfully escaped, landed in a city street, looking around in confusion. He then exclaimed, "Huh? Where's my lollipop?" The young man, despite the efforts of 3 search parties, remained missing. He had vanished for 5 days, leaving no trace. Even his unique aura was undetectable. The man, frustrated, resolved to devise a plan to find him and bring him back. His eyes glowed with a fierce determination as a crack of energy appeared on his hand, a surge of power coursing through his veins. He would give the missing man a good beating. The following afternoon, a man sat at his desk, reviewing a statement. He had recently lost someone close to him due to a heart attack. He lamented the unfortunate timing of the death, noting that this month's performance was beyond his reach. A young woman entered the real estate office. She cheerfully greeted the man, inquiring if he was there to find or purchase a property. The woman boldly stated her desire to rent the haunted apartment, surprising the man. The man, initially hesitant due to the apartment's reputation, ultimately agreed to her request. The woman explained her intentions. She wanted to do a broadcast from the apartment. She confidently asserted that modern women value money more than their lives, implying a willingness to take risks for financial gain. The man, slightly bewildered, handed her the keys. The young woman, having received the keys, made her way to the haunted apartment. "All right, then I won't go upstairs. Stay safe," she muttered to herself, a hint of apprehension in her voice. Inside, she surveyed the master bedroom. This master bedroom should be where he died, she thought, her gaze lingering on the bed. She then sat down at a desk and began to eat a cup of instant noodles. "First thing first, let me eat my fill," she said happily, completely ignoring the ominous atmosphere. Suddenly, a shadowy hand reached out from under the table, startling her. "Who created this? It's so good." The hand lunged, aiming for her legs, causing her to recoil in surprise. She narrowly avoided the grasp, her eyes wide with fear. Alone in the haunted apartment, the young woman felt a surge of fear, but resolved to remain brave. She giggled nervously, holding up a CD featuring a picture of a young man. This was her protection against the supernatural entity, she thought. She placed a protective item on the door and another on the window, hoping to ward off any evil spirits. Suddenly, the lights flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. The young woman's eyes widened in fear as she realized the lights had gone out. A chilling screech echoed through the apartment as a dark, shadowy entity emerged from a nearby wardrobe. From the depths of the wardrobe, a malevolent entity emerged, its form vaguely humanoid yet terrifyingly distorted. Glowing green energy pulsed within its shadowy features. The young woman, her face etched with determination, confronted the wardrobe. "So this is where you're hiding," she muttered, her voice barely a whisper in the oppressive silence. With a swift, practiced movement, she swung her backpack, its contents unseen, towards the wardrobe. the bag's contents seemingly reacting to her command, as if imbued with a hidden power. Unleashing a shadowy, avian entity with glowing eyes that shrieked, "Caw!" The creature, a monstrous crow, launched itself from the bag, its wings a blur of dark feathers. Its furious caws echoing through the room as it swooped towards the young woman, forcing her to stumble back, narrowly avoiding its sharp talons. Panic seized her as she scrambled away, knocking over a nearby wardrobe in her desperate flight. The young woman, Koen Bag, wielded a strange weapon resembling a spinning top, adorned with the trigram representing Earth. She launched it at a shadowy, bird-like creature, the top striking the creature with a resounding boom as feathers scattered. Koen Bag's internal monologue revealed her weapon, a four-clawed crow, could reveal any demon's true form. Suddenly, a monstrous hand burst through the floorboards with a bang, its long, clawed fingers reaching for Koen Bag. Followed by a horrifying creature emerging from the darkness, its steps echoing ominously as it stalked its prey. The creature, fully manifested, loomed over Koen Bag, its gaping maw promising death. "I'll swallow you alive," it hissed. The creature towered over the terrified young woman, its immense size dwarfing her. Koen Bag's backpack, the source of the entity's release, was visible. The creature lunged, its massive jaws snapping shut with a terrifying rrrrrrrr. The young woman's face filled with stark terror as she braced for the inevitable. The supernatural entity, a grotesque figure of shadows and sharp teeth, slapped the young woman, its green eyes glowing menacingly. "Still acting tough?" it hissed. The young woman retaliated with a punch, her small fist connecting with the entity's face. By making all these screeches and cries, she retorted, as the impact echoed with a bang. The entity, unfazed, continued its assault, its movements erratic and powerful. "You're disturbing the neighbors," the young woman shouted, dodging another attack. A powerful blow sent the entity crashing into a door, momentarily stunning it. The young woman, breathless, clutched at her chest. "I can't move well with these two meatballs on my chest." The entity, recovering, roared, Who are you?" The young woman smirked, "Looks like I'm right. By using this kind of childish act to scare people." She continued, "I'm 100% sure that you are a low-level spirit without any real attack power. That's also the reason why you can't see my true self under this skin." With a sizzling sound, a cyan energy circle appeared around her fingertip. She then extended her hand, and a dark, swirling orb materialized, seemingly absorbing the entity. The entity, its form decaying, revealed itself. "I am." From the Yaochang Sea, the Sang City demon-catching champion, Tang Ka. Tang Ka, the young champion, confronted the entity. Yaochang Sea? Since you can hide your demonic aura, it's clear you must be a lust spirit. It's a shame I didn't need to disguise myself as a busty girl anymore. My golden nether senses couldn't detect you, but I'd say your hiding ability is better than that guy's. However, as for attack power, I could have finished you off with just a finger." The entity, enraged, responded, "Well then, you'll need to find me first." A blinding flash of light erupted as the entity seemingly exploded. "Why? Why can't you hide?" I'll say it again, that any clan's rituals make any demons or spirits reveal their true self. The entity lunged, its clawed hand reaching for the young woman. But she reacted swiftly, deflecting the attack with a talisman hidden behind a poster. The impact created a bright flash and a loud bang. A searing electrical current surged through the entity's body, causing it to shriek in agony, "Arrrrggggh." The young woman, confident in her victory, stated, "You can't escape." The entity, weakened but defiant, revealed a hidden weakness. "There's a talisman behind that poster." "You're weaker than I expected. For a mere talisman to revert you back to your true self." A small, horned creature with large, red, tear-filled eyes sat on a wooden floor, its shadow cast on the wall behind it, resembling a larger, more menacing figure. The creature's posture was hunched and defeated, its body trembling slightly. A hand reached down, gently touching the creature's head. "Little brat," the hand's owner muttered. The young woman, her expression hard, lightly struck the creature. Not so cheeky now, huh, she said, as the creature was sent flying into a wall. There is no spirit in this world that I can't handle, she added confidently. The creature cried out, I can't leave this place yet. She hasn't come back yet. The young woman's expression turned serious. She? You've been scaring everyone away just to wait for her return? The creature explained, that's right. We used to live in an ancient era, but due to us being weak and timid by nature, our only way to survive is by hiding. However, because there are very few that can catch us, we were recruited by the Yao Cheng spirits to collect information on other demon spirits. We thought that having humans as our backing could make our lives little safer. We didn't expect that other demons would begin mercilessly killing off our species after finding out that we were working with humans. We were all assigned to one mission, but little did we know, it was a trap. I was heavily injured. I hid in the cape, as I was the only one to survive the escape. I slept for God knows how long. After I had woken up, the world had changed drastically. Gigantic buildings, metal skin, weirdly tightly together. I feel suffocated. You humans don't even want to sleep during the night. Always screaming, shouting, and the king is truly terrifying. Hence, why I hid back into the cabinet until the granny found me. It was bland and lonely. She took me as she also complained she took me in and cared for me as any injuries. Despite one day suffering any injuries, she refused to move even an inch, no matter how much food I put by her mouth. Then a few days later, she got carried away. Since then I've been waiting and coming for her to wake up and come back to me. The small, horned creature sobbed, its large eyes filled with tears. But a long time has passed, it whimpered, and she still hasn't come back. The young woman, clearly impatient, interrupted the creature's lament. Enough! Quit rambling, she snapped, slapping the creature lightly on the face. She then pulled out her phone, a determined look on her face. So annoying. Let's verify your identity first. The young woman aimed her phone's camera at the creature, instructing it to stand up properly and don't move. The creature, confused, complied as the phone's screen displayed a digital scanner interface. What's that? A demon scanner? The scan completed, revealing the results. Target result, Tan Wang, extinct species. The young woman gasped, clearly surprised. It talks? So scary. Wawa, she exclaimed, as additional information appeared on the screen. Extinction period, in the Beijiang period, extinction reason, hunted by other spirit demons, physical appearance. The creature, seemingly resigned to its fate, stated, although this mission only has a reward of 2,000, it will be quite interesting capturing you. Also. The young woman's eyes gleamed with avarice. I've hit the jackpot and extinct demon spirit is worth a lot on the black market. The young woman, eyes gleaming with avarice, surveyed the creature. It was an extinct species, she realized, a prize of immense black market value. And she moved to seize it, her greed overriding any sense of compassion. The creature, terrified, cried out, Let me go. The young woman, Tan Wang, knelt before the creature, a strange mixture of ruthlessness and unexpected gentleness in her eyes. Although you're worth a lot, I won't sell you off. That granny isn't coming back. Therefore, from now on, you'll never be lonely, afraid, or helpless, she reassured it, her voice soft yet firm. The creature, its large eyes filled with unshed tears, listened intently. Because I'll be here to protect you. She smiled, a genuine warmth replacing the earlier coldness. Tan Wang, your name shall be from now on Xiao Hei. Xiao Hei, the creature, whispered, I have a name. Tan Wang's smile widened. Are you willing to accept the name given to you? Tears streamed down Xiao Hei's face as it nodded vigorously. Yes. A young woman, her face etched with determination, fought to protect a small, supernatural creature from a man with a cruel smile. She struggled against him, her movements desperate. But he was too strong. With a final, powerful blast of energy, he captured the creature within a glowing orb, its cries echoing with pain and betrayal. Let me out. I knew it. You can't trust people from Yao Cheng Si, the creature wailed, its voice filled with anguish. The man, a smirk playing on his lips, declared, "Done." He held the orb aloft, a triumphant glint in his eyes. The man then consulted a device, reporting his mission status. The screen displayed two options, success and failure. He selected failure, a cold satisfaction in his gaze as he prepared to leave. "Time to go," he muttered, a sinister edge to his tone. His finger pressed the failure button, finalizing his report. Later, under the pale glow of the moon, he felt a pang of hunger. "I'm a bit hungry, let's go to Lantian Street and find something to eat," he mused, his earlier ruthlessness momentarily forgotten. Elsewhere, a different scene unfolded. Two individuals, alerted to a potential discovery, rushed towards a construction site. "Quick, come and take a look. It seems like old Zhuang dug up treasure," one of them exclaimed, his voice brimming with excitement. Grunting with effort, the workers struggled to move a large, heavy object. "Damn, this thing must weigh at least 500 kilograms. Getting this thing out is tiring the shit out of us," one of them complained. They uncovered a large, dark urn, bound with thick rope. "Huh? What's this? It doesn't look like it's worth much." The workers examined the urn, speculating about its purpose. One suggested it might be an antique, while another countered that it was likely used for storing alcohol. As they continued to examine the urn, one worker noted an unsettling aura emanating from it. "We'll know once we open it up. Be careful, it's giving off an evil aura." A worker's expression shifted to one of alarm and fear as he stared at the urn. They carefully removed the cloth covering the top of the urn, revealing strange markings. "What's written on top? It looks like claw marks left by dogs." The urn was lifted and moved, then dropped with a loud bang. A dark, earthen urn, covered in faded, indecipherable script, was unearthed by construction workers. Dust swirled around it. As the workers, curious and slightly apprehensive, questioned old Zhuang about its contents. "Old Zhuang, what's inside?" one of them asked. Another worker, impatient, pressed further, "Old Zhuang, are you deaf? Let's go have a look too." They moved to examine the urn more closely. As they did, a dark, viscous liquid began to drip from the urn onto the ground. And one of the workers, his face contorted in agony, was consumed by a bright green light emanating from within the urn. His body was visibly changing, his eyes glowing an eerie green. A swirling, green smoke rose from the urn, a sinister and unsettling sight. Tan Weng, card, they live in hiding in swamps, deep in fens. Absorbing the spirit essence of plants, food. They have no offensive skills, but they are great at using hiding and transformation skills. No one is able to detect them after activating their hiding skill. They are estimated to have become extinct in the Beijiang period. Embroidered cage, card, a tool used for trapping normal demon spirits. One of two conditions must be fulfilled before a demon spirit can be trapped with it. 1. The demon spirit is heavily injured and holding on to its last breath. 2. The demon spirit has trust in the hunter and is not wary of them. Racing through the rain-slicked streets on her motorcycle, the delivery driver muttered to herself, "I'm late." She glanced at the package she was carrying, grumbling, "Why does it have to be raining right now?" The driver, along with her passenger, navigated the wet roads with practiced ease, pushing the motorcycle to its limits, determined to reach her destination despite the challenging conditions. "Just 5 more minutes and I should be able to get there," she thought, gritting her teeth, knowing this deal was hard to clinch. She accelerated, the motorcycle roaring through the night, leaving a trail of water and sparks in its wake. She noted with relief, luckily, there isn't anyone on this road tonight. The delivery driver's motorcycle skidded violently across the rain-slicked asphalt, the vehicle careening out of control before impacting the ground with a sickening thud. The driver, dazed and injured, lay sprawled in the street, her body trembling. She looked around, disoriented, muttering, "Did I run into something?" But there's nothing there. A series of heavy thuds echoed around her as she struggled to regain her bearings. A young woman lies in bed, her expression a mixture of weariness and determination. She is berated by an unseen voice, questioning her late nights and lack of help around the house. The voice continues, criticizing her lifestyle and the apparent lack of guidance from her father. A door slams shut, the sound echoing in the quiet room. The woman's eyes snap open, revealing a fierce glint. She sits up in bed, her thoughts turning to her current living situation. She realizes she can't stay much longer, and makes a silent vow to find a new place to live, once she has saved enough money. Her gaze hardens. She plans to confront the woman who abandoned her and her family, making her regret her actions. A framed family photo is shown, the woman's face obscured. She silently prays for wealth and prosperity. At the breakfast table, a man urges her to eat quickly. He then comments on how long she has been living there, noting it's been 6 months. A man, presumably the young woman's uncle, sits at a table, looking at his phone. He thinks to himself, she's my niece. If I don't care for her, who will? He continues to scroll through his phone, observing a picture of fried food and a building. He muses, that might be the case, but as it is, if she doesn't have money, she must have saved up a small fortune with all the work she does. He then tells the young woman, who is leaving the kitchen, let's end this conversation. Talking about her makes me annoyed. Get to work after you finish your breakfast. I'll go to the market to buy some things. The young woman exits the house, the uncle watches her go, commenting, come on out. Your aunt already left. The young woman enters, greeting her uncle with a cheerful good morning, uncle. I swear I'm not trying to avoid your wife. Her uncle responds dismissively, must be menopause. Don't take it to heart. Go wash up and have some breakfast. The young woman washes her hands, then proceeds to the bathroom, where she is seen from behind as she washes her face. The young woman, dressed in pale pink pajamas, quietly exited her uncle's luxurious bathroom. Her departure unnoticed by the man who observed her from the shadows. Xiaoran's eyes blazed with a furious intensity, her expression a mask of barely contained rage. As she crouched, her pink bunny headband a stark contrast to the fear and anger churning within her. A shadowy figure loomed behind her, his presence menacing. She had called out to her uncle from outside the door, but received no answer. The man, her uncle, appeared, offering a seemingly innocent explanation for his absence. He was simply flossing after a meal. He seemed unconcerned by her obvious distress. The man's words, that's right, floss, hung in the air, a chillingly casual response to her fear. He noticed her wet hands and offered to dry them himself, his touch unsettlingly familiar. His words, your wet hair smells very nice, Xiaoran, were laced with a disturbing undertone, revealing a sinister intent. Xiaoran's face fell as she remembered her uncle's past actions, his claim that he used to hold and play with her when she was young taking on a new, horrifying meaning. The uncle revealed he'd seen a glimpse of the young woman's finances, noting a balance of over 500,000. He insinuated her late-night comings and goings suggested naughty things. He offered her the money, but only if she obeyed him. The young woman, hurt and betrayed, confronted her uncle, revealing her realization that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Enraged, she unleashed a powerful kick, sending her uncle sprawling across the bathroom floor, leaving him defeated and humiliated. Sighing, the young woman acknowledged the need to find a new place to stay, leaving her uncle to his misery. Later, while walking down the street, hunger pangs struck the young woman. She regretted not eating breakfast before leaving. The young woman's eyes, blazing with a fierce intensity, narrowed as she stared at her family's dinner table. Her uncle, attempting to coax her with food, offered, have another bite, good girl. She firmly rejected his offer, stating, no, I don't want it. Daddy, I want to play. Later, alone, a determined expression settled on her face. She muttered to herself, buck up. I still have to work hard to earn money today. Her gaze hardened, and a yellow box appeared, displaying her goal, today's income target, 1,000 renminbi. At 9 a.m., she confidently held a bouquet of flowers, ready for her first job. She completed a modeling job, earning 300 renminbi, a small step towards her goal. Later, she rushed through the city streets, shouting, get out of the way, determined to reach her next job. She worked as a part-time maid, earning an additional 200 renminbi plus a 150 renminbi tip for excellent service. At 6:30 p.m., the young woman asked her uncle to watch her luggage for a short while. She then spoke to someone at a shop, inquiring about the duration of her oil change and how long she would be making deliveries. Meanwhile, two men watched her leave on her motorcycle. One commented on how cute she was and questioned why she had to work so hard. The other man explained that she worked 3 jobs a day, although he didn't understand why she pushed herself so hard. He added that she clearly loved riding her motorcycle. The young woman sped off on her motorcycle, her ride serving as a way to relieve stress from her multiple jobs. Passing by a sign for Lan Tian Street. Later, a young man with silver hair munched on a snack as he pondered his next move. The sound of a motorcycle could be heard in the background. The young woman rode through the bustling night streets, weaving through the crowd. As the young man watched her from the sidewalk, still eating his snack. With a click, a young man opened a small, ornate compass. The compass spun wildly, emitting a series of whooshing sounds as red lines emanated from it. The man's eyes widened in alarm as he recognized the ominous sign. "It's a bad omen," he exclaimed, his face etched with worry. The red lines extended, reaching out into the bustling night market. The man's thoughts drifted back to a warning from his master during his youth. "To actually bump into," he muttered, his gaze fixed on a specific point in the crowd. The lines converged on a young woman riding a motorcycle through the throngs of people. The text above her read, "The target of the bad omen." Close up on the woman's helmet, the words "death is unavoidable, undispellable by any art" were visible. The man sighed, his expression one of worry. The crowd was too dense, locating his target would be difficult. He mused, a sense of fatalism settling over him. Everyone has their own destiny, he thought, and there was nothing he could do to change it, even if he wanted to. Suddenly, his phone buzzed repeatedly. A deluge of notifications flooding his screen. "What the hell?" he exclaimed, startled by the sheer volume of urgent requests. One request stood out, an urgent mission, ranked A, demanding immediate attention. The message asked if he wished to accept. His eyes widened. Rank A? A grin spread across his face. "Today's a good day," he muttered, a thrill of anticipation coursing through him. From a distance, another voice urged, "Hurry up. They're over here." A group of construction workers rushed towards a large, open pit, their leader shouting, "Who's the loudmouth? Why is everyone coming?" Another worker responded, "Since you're here, why can't we all come? There's the big urn." The workers approached the pit, their numbers growing. One asked, "Where's old Zhuang and the others?" A worker peered into the darkness, stating, "There seems to be something in front of that big urn." The scene shifted to reveal discarded boots, uniforms, and other personal items scattered around the large urn. One worker questioned, "This trash is the thing they've excavated? Where are they? Why are their uniforms here?" The camera focused on the urn's contents, a dark liquid bubbled ominously inside. The word bubbling appeared in a stylized font. The workers surrounded the urn, one commenting, "There seems to be something inside." As a dark, shadowy figure began to emerge from the liquid, the bubbling intensifying. The word bubbling appeared again, and a worker stated, "Something's surfacing." A dark, viscous liquid bubbled ominously within a large urn. A swirling vortex of black energy erupted from its depths. Rising like a malevolent phantom towards a group of startled construction workers. One worker, his face etched with disbelief, muttered, That's. Two workers, their eyes wide with terror, stared in horrified fascination. As monstrous form fully emerged from the urn, looming over the terrified men. A skeletal figure with long, dark hair, its body adorned with glowing, golden spikes, perched atop the urn, surveying its surroundings. Its gaping maw revealed a terrifying darkness within. A wave of terror washed over the construction workers as a monstrous entity burst forth from the urn. Its skeletal form radiating an eerie green energy, a horrifying visage of death and decay. One worker, eyes wide with fear and disbelief, stared directly at the creature, his face a mask of pure terror. A searing green energy erupted from the creature's mouth, striking the worker, causing him to scream in agony as the energy coursed through his body. The energy spread rapidly, engulfing the other workers in a chaotic maelstrom of green light and screams. Workers were flung through the air like ragdolls, crashing into the surrounding structures. One worker smashing through a window, his body convulsing with the alien energy. A monstrous entity, perched atop a dark orb, unleashed a wave of eerie green energy. The energy engulfing a massive group of construction workers, transforming them into grotesque, undead beings. Their bodies contorted and their eyes glowing with an unnatural light, before violently exploding in a shower of dark matter. The aftermath revealed a desolate scene, scattered hard hats and the remnants of the workers' bodies, consumed by the entity's power. A chilling testament to the entity's destructive capabilities. The entity, its face now visible, exhaled a plume of the same eerie green energy, a chilling display of its power. The monstrous entity, its form a horrifying blend of flesh and bone, unleashed a wave of destructive energy, its glowing eyes burning with malevolent intensity as it surveyed the scene of carnage. A screech of agony echoing from its skeletal frame as it began to transform, its limbs contorting and reforming, its power growing exponentially. A creature of immense power, its movements blurring into a whirlwind of destruction, its body cracking and reforming under the strain of its own power. An entity of terrifying might, its form shifting and evolving before the horrified gaze of the man, finally settling into a grotesque, demonic form, a terrifying Oni mask solidifying on its face. The monstrous entity's transformation reached its horrifying climax, revealing a powerful Oni-like creature, its eyes burning with malevolent energy. The monstrous entity's transformation continued, its skeletal hand reaching towards the heavens, its form solidifying into a terrifying Oni-like creature. A chilling question echoed in its mind: why did I become this? As the final stages of its metamorphosis concluded, a single drop of ichor fell to the ground, signaling the completion of its horrifying evolution. Rain began to fall. Meanwhile, the man watched in horror from afar, the rain washing over him as he witnessed the entity's complete transformation. A brutal scene unfolding before him. He was surrounded by the bodies of his fallen comrades, the rain mixing with their blood. The weight of the massacre bore down on him, the rain a stark contrast to the crimson carnage. In the distance, a sinister figure emerged from the shadows, a chilling smile playing on their lips. The monstrous entity, its transformation nearly complete, stood amidst the carnage. Rain lashed down, obscuring the details of the scene. A guttural sound escaped its throat, a low bow that resonated with raw power, culminating in a roar, a guttural boan, that echoed through the desolate landscape. The creature's form continued to shift, its skeletal structure hardening, its skin becoming leathery and dark. Muscles rippled beneath the surface. Powerful, clawed hands formed, tipped with wickedly sharp talons. As final touches of its Oni-like transformation completed, leaving it a terrifying spectacle of raw power. With a deafening bang, the entity convulsed, its form racked by internal turmoil, its body contorting as it underwent a final, violent transformation. The copper nails, it realized, were inhibiting its ability to absorb essence. A chilling premonition washed over it: something was coming. The entity's transformation reached its horrifying climax, its features sharpened into a grotesque Oni-like visage, its eyes burning with malevolent energy. The word foresight appeared, underscoring the entity's newfound precognitive ability. In a terrifying display of power, the monstrous entity unleashed a devastating wave of energy, the resulting shockwave obliterating its surroundings and leaving behind a scene of utter devastation. The bodies of its former comrades scattered across the ravaged landscape. The rain continued to fall, washing away the blood and obscuring the city in the distance. The man, horrified and grief-stricken, watched from above as the monstrous entity completed its transformation. A wave of destructive energy erupting from its form. The city below illuminated by the sheer power unleashed. The entity, now a towering Oni-like creature, felt a surge of power, yet also a profound sense of unease. A question of its own existence echoed within its newly formed mind. The monstrous entity's gaze shifted, its eyes glowing with an unsettling intelligence. It saw a sinister figure observing the scene from afar, a cruel smile playing on their lips. Although uncertain of the figure's identity, the entity's instincts screamed at it to flee. Its body felt numb, its strength sapped. The copper nails had sealed away its power. Unable to move, the entity could only watch as its own power waned, its very existence threatened. The entity's strength was sealed, its body weakened, and it was unable to move. It knew it had to find that person, or it would collapse. The monstrous entity, its transformation complete, voiced its pain and suffering accumulated over countless years. A swish of movement as it launched itself into the air. Its declaration of vengeance echoing through the rain-soaked city, "I'll return it back to you." The entity's rage was palpable, a storm of kill, filling the panels as it fully embraced its Oni-like form. Even with the cost of 1,000, or even 10,000 years. The entity hurtled towards its target with terrifying speed. Its final vow resonating, "I will find you." A blinding flash of light erupted as the entity unleashed a devastating attack. The impact echoing with a resounding boom, as a mysterious black box was sent flying through the air. The Foresight card, a unique sight skill possessed by a mummy, is revealed. Its ability is described, to detect the soul and aura color of a target from an extreme distance. The motorcycle tires spun, leaving a trail of spray across the rain-slicked asphalt. As the rider, caught completely off guard, was thrown from their bike by a sudden, powerful impact. The monstrous entity, its Oni-like features now fully manifested, had appeared seemingly out of nowhere. The entity, its thoughts a maelstrom of vengeful fury, muttered to itself, "That flash. I was ambushed by something. Is it another person out to catch me?" Observing the injured woman on the ground, it continued, "It's a woman. She's clearly the one that ambushed me, yet she seems to have suffered serious injuries." A golden energy bolt shot across the rain-swept street. The entity, sensing a powerful aura nearby, growled, "The person with the powerful aura should be nearby. It looks like he's here for me." Its massive form shifting, it admitted to itself, "With the state I'm in, I'm definitely not a match for him." The woman, eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and terror, muttered, "I must be seeing things." Her vision blurring as blood streamed down her face. The rain washed away the crimson, obscuring the details of her injuries. But the searing pain remained, a stark reminder of the monstrous entity's attack. She fell to the ground, her body impacting the slick pavement with a soft thud. The entity, its Oni form now fully revealed, loomed over her. Its movements swift and brutal as it unleashed another attack. The woman's body was tossed aside, the green energy tendrils of the entity whipping around her like living snakes. The rain continued to fall, each drop a stark contrast to the vibrant, unnatural glow emanating from the entity. The woman lay still, her body battered and broken. A metallic clang echoed through the rain-soaked streets as the entity moved on, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The monstrous entity's attack left the woman critically injured, her body riddled with wounds as tendrils of dark energy pulsed within her. A close-up reveals the extent of the damage, the tendrils penetrating deep into her flesh, corrupting her very being. A view shifts to a microscopic level, showcasing the entity's energy disrupting the woman's cellular structure, a horrifying display of parasitic invasion. The scene transitions to a wider perspective, revealing a network of dark veins spreading throughout the woman's body, mirroring the cosmic horror of the entity's true form. A terrifying close-up on the woman's eye shows a glowing, malevolent orb replacing her pupil, a clear sign of the entity's control. The rain lashes down on a desolate, industrial landscape, the scene reflecting the grim aftermath of the attack. A distant figure, silhouetted against the stormy sky, approaches the scene, their presence hinting at a potential intervention. Suddenly, a powerful blast of energy erupts, sending a shockwave through the rain-soaked environment. The mysterious figure arrived at the construction site, surveying the scene with a grim expression. He muttered to himself, looks like I was too late." His gaze fell upon the woman, critically injured and seemingly possessed. He observed, "There's not a trace of life left in this construction site. It's able to kill that many within such a short time. I have to find it fast." A series of metallic rings echoed as the figure reached for a device on his belt. Activating a powerful energy source. He prepared to unleash its full potential. The woman, seemingly possessed, walked away from the scene, oblivious to the approaching danger. A powerful blast of energy erupted, striking her. The impact causing a massive surge of energy that engulfed her, transforming her into a monstrous, oni-like entity with glowing orange eyes. A large, shadowy paw emerged from the darkness, its reflection rippling in a rain-slicked street. A young woman with long black hair and a skull-like mask walked past, seemingly oblivious to the looming presence. A small, white cat trotted alongside her, its gaze fixed on the approaching darkness. The cat's eyes glowed with an unnatural light, reflecting a monstrous figure. The reflection in the cat's eyes revealed a towering, demonic entity with sharp claws and glowing green accents. The woman continued walking, seemingly unaware of the danger that stalked her from behind. A larger, gray cat with glowing yellow eyes appeared, its expression one of predatory curiosity. "What luck," it mused, "to bump into that pops up every 100 years or so. What's more, she appears to be very weak." The woman in the skull mask, her eyes glowing with an eerie orange light, confronts a monstrous feline creature. She thinks to herself, "If I consume you, my spiritual aura will greatly increase." The monstrous cat lunges, claws extended, but the woman remains resolute. She unleashes a burst of energy, a wave of orange light emanating from her fingertips, swiftly moving to intercept the cat's attack on a deserted highway. The woman's attack connects, sending the cat sprawling across the asphalt. She observes the cat, noting, "It has such a weak spiritual aura, yet it's so strong." With a mere finger, she could have ended the cat's life, but she continues. She reflects, "Had I known, I would have just continued sucking up to humans, at least then I would still have food to eat." The woman in the skull mask stands, her golden eyes gleaming with power. She surveys her surroundings, a confident smirk playing on her lips, a subtle glow emanating from within her. "Let's test this body out in a place with more people," she thinks, her voice a quiet murmur. With a sudden burst of speed, she launches herself forward. A streak of motion across the dark cityscape. A powerful energy explodes behind her as she moves, leaving a trail of destruction in her wake. She slows, observing a large city in the distance. "There's a large city ahead. Let's take a look," she muses. She accelerates again, a golden projectile hurtling towards the city, impacting with a massive explosion that sends debris flying high into the air. Emerging from a dark, confined space, the woman in skull mask found herself in a bustling city. She looked around, taking in the towering buildings and the crowds of people, wondering aloud how long she had been trapped. The city's vibrant energy, however, was quickly overshadowed by a surge of anger, as she recognized the city's inhabitants as descendants of those she considered her enemies. "They must be the descendants of those bastards," she thought, her eyes blazing with fury, a fierce determination hardening her expression. "I'll make sure your bloodline ends here," she vowed, a chilling resolve settling over her, a green energy emanating from within her. The woman in skull mask prepared to unleash her power upon the unsuspecting city, releasing a wave of green energy that swept through the streets, striking down several individuals. Panic erupted as the city was engulfed in a chaotic display of power, the green energy continuing its destructive path, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The woman in skull mask's wrath was unleashed upon the city, a terrifying spectacle of raw power. The city skyline illuminated by the vibrant green energy as it continued to spread, a breathtaking yet terrifying display of power. A surge of emerald energy erupted from the woman in skull mask, radiating outwards in a chaotic display of power. The vibrant green tendrils snaking across the cityscape below, a testament to her raw, untamed abilities. Emergency alerts blared across the cityscape, the towering skyscrapers casting long shadows as the city plunged into chaos. The screens flashing the urgent message, "Emergency. All personnel report immediately." Commander Han Long Kuei stood in the command room, her gaze fixed on the citywide emergency unfolding before her on the massive holographic display. "This happens right after I take charge?" A subordinate officer approached, her voice laced with concern. "Isn't this the job Tanka took on?" Commander Han Long Kuei's expression hardened. "Where's that brat? With his current location, he won't make it in time." She continued, a grim determination etched on her face. "Looks like I have no choice but to request people from that world to handle this." A frantic subordinate rushed in, her words cutting through the tense atmosphere. "Sister Long! Sister Long! According to the statistics, all of the citizens in the Lanshan district will die within the next 3 minutes." A female operative, briefing her superiors, reported that Tang Ka is the only Jia-rank Demon City officer in the area and relayed his coordinates. However, she expressed concern about his current location. The operative issued orders. The Judicial Department was to contact the Protector Hall immediately, and 2 protectors were to be dispatched to the scene. Upon hearing the words protectors, the operative displayed a look of surprise and concern. The woman in the skull mask unleashed a torrent of green energy from her mouth. A close-up of her face revealed intense focus and determination as the energy continued to surge. The energy blast spread across the cityscape, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. A masked figure, seemingly an elf, received a report. The target, a mummy, was exceptionally dangerous. It had been centuries since the last mummy sighting, and this one was female, making the situation even more unpredictable. This would be a challenging mission. Commander Han Long Kuei, a masked elf, volunteered to scout ahead, while another officer stood watch. He launched a swift attack. The mummy countered with surprising speed and power, landing a blow that sent the commander reeling. But he managed to recover, narrowly avoiding a second strike. The mummy's eyes glowed with an eerie intensity as she prepared for another attack. The woman in the skull mask smirked, her eyes glowing with an eerie intensity. "You seem much stronger than the other one," she observed, assessing her opponent. Commander Han Long Kuei braced himself, sensing a surge of power emanating from his adversary. The woman unleashed a swift attack, a blur of motion that left Commander Han Long Kuei barely able to react. A strange green energy erupted from her mouth, swirling and coalescing into a powerful vortex. The vortex grew in size and intensity, its green tendrils reaching out like grasping claws. Finally, the woman in the skull mask channeled the energy into a focused beam, crouching low as she prepared to unleash its full force. A surge of vibrant green energy erupted, its tendrils reaching across the scene. Drawing the attention of a nearby observer who questioned the source of the powerful light display. "Where's this pillar of light coming from? Is someone lighting fireworks?" Meanwhile, the woman in the skull mask felt the intense heat of the energy coursing through her body, her movements restricted. "My body's so hot. Why can't I move? What's happening to me?" The intense energy overwhelmed her, causing her to struggle against its effects. "Damn it! This woman still has her consciousness." She attempted to regain control, but her body remained unresponsive. Why can't I move my head?" Observing from a distance, the Jia-rank Demon City officer reflected on the woman in the skull mask's recent escape and her current state. "After working so hard to escape and just managing to recover my strength. Did she actually spit out all of the souls? What's her goal? What's your analysis, number 7? The officer assessed the situation, concluding that the woman in the skull mask's strength and speed were both at the Jia rank level. Judging from the force of the ground, her speed and strength are both of Jia rank. Commander Han Long Kuei, observing the woman in the skull mask's power, decided to test her abilities. "Speed inferior to you, as for defense. I'll go test it." Commander Han Long Kuei, his eyes blazing with a fierce, golden light, unleashed a powerful attack against the woman in skull mask. "Scram, woman," he roared, his voice filled with barely contained fury. The woman in skull mask, however, remained unfazed, her foot planting firmly on the ground as she braced herself for the oncoming assault. The commander's attack manifested as a technique called icy prison, a torrent of glacial energy that surged forth. The icy prison enveloped the woman in skull mask, freezing her in place within a crystalline cage. But the ice began to crack under immense pressure. The woman in skull mask, trapped but not defeated, began to exert her power, shattering the icy restraints. With a resounding boom, the ice prison shattered, and the woman in skull mask emerged, her power surging. She unleashed a wave of raw energy, the force of which sent shockwaves rippling outwards. The woman in skull mask, defiant and powerful, declared, "No one can stop me." Commander Han Long Kuei, slightly surprised by her resilience, reacted swiftly. He moved with a blur of motion, dodging her attack with practiced ease, and countered with a precise strike. The woman in skull mask, however, anticipated his move. She leaped back, narrowly avoiding the blow, and unleashed a wave of dark energy, forming into sharp, jagged ink spikes, which rained down upon the commander. Commander Han Long Kuei, anticipating the attack, raised his sword, deflecting the majority of the ink spikes. The remaining shards shattered harmlessly around him, leaving a small, crystalline pile in their wake. The woman in skull mask scoffed, "What a joke." The immense ink spikes formation behind her pulsed with dark energy. A testament to the Jiao rank Demon City officer's assessment: at the Jiao rank, a mummy's toughness is worthy of its reputation. The woman in skull mask sneered, "With the puny capabilities you possess, do you think you can defeat me?" Commander Han Long Kuei, unseen, calmly declared, "The preparations are now complete." Suddenly, the woman in skull mask cried out, "I can't move my body." A powerful force restrained her. As the ground beneath her cracked open, revealing a complex array of runes forming a hidden seal, Heaven-Earth Dual Seal. Her consciousness flickered, overwhelmed by the power of the seal. And with a thud, she collapsed to her knees, the dark energy dissipating into green flames. Commander Han Long Kuei, having successfully sealed the woman in skull mask, explained that the seal would only hold for 2 minutes, revealing that only those who have committed exceedingly evil deeds or possess enormous hatred can be sealed by the Heaven-Earth Dual Seal. He noted that the woman in skull mask likely possessed over 1,000 years' worth of cultivation, and even 12 earth chains could only bind her for 2 minutes. He considered the situation troublesome, commenting that even though she was unconscious, she had already entered a protective hibernation state, making it impossible to do anything to her with the offensive strength they could muster in such a short time frame. The Heaven-Earth Dual Seal activated, its green energy engulfing the woman in skull mask. A city officer, clad in dark armor, inquired about the combat situation. The response was that although the woman in skull mask's subjugation was not their doing, the human souls had already been released. The officer pressed further, questioning how long it would take for those souls to return to their bodies. Receiving the grim news that, given the current circumstances, they would not be able to return, Commander Han Long Kuei explained that the woman in skull mask had been subdued without being killed, having already activated her protective hibernation state. He emphasized that unless the seal was removed, there was no way to kill her, and that the seal would only hold for 2 minutes. Even if she were defeated in combat after that, she would still be able to recover. The commander added that it would take time for the souls to return to their bodies, and if they failed to return in time, the consequences would be dire. Commander Han Long Kuei stood before the sealed woman in skull mask, a concerned Jiao-rank Demon City officer observing from the side. The officer questioned if there was no other way, his worry palpable. But Han Long Kuei, calm yet serious, responded that there was another way. The two women, the Jiao-rank officer and another, watched with apprehension as Han Long Kuei revealed his plan. A plan that involved exile. The word hung heavy in the air. The Jiao-rank officer's eyes widened in shock at the suggestion of exile, while the other woman wondered aloud if Han Long Kuei was referring to the heaven-flipping seal, a powerful artifact. She explained that she had heard from colleagues that their headquarters possessed a mysterious heirloom capable of sealing a large number of ancient demonic spirits, an heirloom that had maintained mankind's dominance for ages. a place known as the Third World. The blonde-haired officer explained that while Commander Han Long Kuei's exile proposal was a viable solution, it required approval from headquarters before they could use it to seal the mummy. However, the woman with heterochromatic eyes interrupted, declaring that lives were at stake and there was no time for delays. She stated that she would take full responsibility for her actions. The blonde officer, visibly concerned, questioned the decision, noting that they had yet to inform their superiors. The masked officer, seemingly unfazed, asked for confirmation one last time before the exile procedure began. He then confirmed that the exile was a go. The order to execute the exile was given. As the masked officer was being transported away, a swift, silent movement was made. With a powerful surge of energy, the woman in the skull mask was banished, a swirling vortex of golden light engulfing her. The sound of whoosh echoing as she disappeared from the city. Meanwhile, a new calamity appeared at a construction site, its location noted by a city official on his compass. The compass needle pointing in the same direction as the previous incident. A figure, moving with incredible speed, flew towards the new threat, leaving a trail of red energy in their wake. The figure arrived at the construction site, ready to confront the new evil. The unidentified figure, a young man with striking silver hair and intense golden eyes, examined a dark, circular object in his hands. Intricate red threads pulsed faintly from its surface. A subtle frown creasing his brow as he muttered to himself, "This can't be a coincidence, right?" With a whoosh, the woman in skull mask vanished from sight, leaving behind only the lingering echo of her departure. Commander Han Long Kuei stood tall, his silhouette cast against the ominous cityscape. A new calamity brewing on the horizon. Beams of light pierced through the dark clouds, illuminating the scene. A fiery explosion erupted from the depths of the sky. A wave of intense heat and energy radiating outwards. As fiery tendrils reached towards the ground, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. A fissure split the sky, radiating intense heat and energy. A demonic figure was violently expelled from its depths, engulfed in flames, falling through the air, trailing fiery tendrils. The fall continued, the demonic entity seemingly bound by invisible threads of energy. Commander Han Long Kuei and the Jiao-rank demon city officer observed the spectacle, their expressions grim. This demonic spirit is that strong? They've actually called for exile. Furthermore, why is the evil calamity attached to its body? The officer muttered, his voice laced with disbelief. Meanwhile, a young man with silver hair recognized the falling figure. "I've seen that back figure before," he thought, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. He shared a brief, intense gaze with a young woman in a yellow helmet before turning away, his expression unreadable. The young man's expression shifted to one of concern and apprehension. The young man with silver hair, plummeting through the air, recognized the figure below. "That's the sexy motorcycle riding girl that rode on the walkway," he exclaimed, his eyes wide with a mix of surprise and apprehension. His gaze fell upon the ethereal form, a spectral outline of a woman, her features partially visible. A voice echoed in his mind, "The soul of that human has fused with the demonic spirit? That means..." The young man, now falling towards a massive, shadowy beast, realized the gravity of the situation. "That's a half-human," he muttered, his expression grim. He braced himself for impact. A strange sense of excitement flickered in his eyes. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. I should have..." He completed his thought, a sinister grin spreading across his face. "Long gone to that world to have some fun." Meanwhile, Commander Han Long Kuei and the Jiao-rank demon city officer observed the scene unfolding from afar. The officer's voice, laced with disbelief, cut through the air, "Has that brat gone mad?" The young man with silver hair, now possessing glowing golden eyes, descended towards the monstrous entity, a predatory gleam in his eyes. The monstrous entity, a colossal, shadowy beast with glowing eyes, opened its maw, revealing a terrifying expanse of teeth as the young man hurtled towards it. The young man with silver hair plummeted into a chasm of swirling, ethereal energy. The vibrant, otherworldly light engulfing him as he fell. A timer counting down, each second marking his descent into the unknown depths. The seconds ticking by, the energy intensifying around him. The timer continued its relentless countdown, the young man's fate hanging in the balance. Commander Han Long Kuei and the Jia-rank Demon City officer watched, their expressions reflecting their apprehension. The officer explained that the young man had entered a place of no return, a realm where only protectors could banish demonic spirits. She expressed deep concern, highlighting the unprecedented nature of a human entering such a dangerous zone. The young woman with lime green hair watched, her expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. As another woman, clad in business attire, unleashed a flurry of blows, each strike imbued with a strange, golden energy. The impact of the strikes leaving swirling trails of light in their wake. The lime-haired woman gasped, a single word escaping her lips, "Huh?" A demonic figure, lounging amidst the carnage of several small, red creatures, observes something with surprise. That door has been opened, he muses. The demon continues, the long-awaited day has arrived. He reflects on his past, stating, over these past few years, I've hunted at least 3 demonic spirits a day. With a burst of energy, the demon launches himself into the air, declaring, all of that bitter training was all in preparation for this day. When I rush out of here, I'll make sure to slaughter an entire city. Before taking my revenge against those old farts. His hand reaches towards a brilliant, golden light, whispering, freedom. I'm about to get my freedom. A powerful blast of energy erupts from the demon as he takes flight, a booming sound accompanying his departure. He streaks across the sky, leaving a blazing trail in his wake. Freedom was within the demon's grasp. The destructive power of this sealed world was truly formidable. It was fortunate that the demon could regenerate and regain its original state as long as any of its organs remained. Since the escape attempt failed, the demon resolved to continue its special training to succeed in the future. One day, it vowed, it would be the only demonic spirit to escape this hellish place. The demon's essence splattered against the young man's face. The young man, wiping the demon's remains from his cheek, muttered that it was disgusting, a mere bug. Then he looked around, noting that the girl he was searching for should be nearby. He searched the area, but she wasn't there. He worried that she had run away, causing him considerable trouble. A massive, horned demon, radiating power, materialized before the young man with silver hair, its very presence shaking the ground. The silver-haired young man, unfazed, observed the creature. He had originally hoped to identify the unlucky soul sent to this place. But the demon's surprise at seeing a human was palpable. It hadn't expected to find a human here, and the scent of the young man was intoxicatingly nostalgic. The demon's words confirmed the young man's suspicions. He knew where the earlier intruder was. A sinister smile spread across the young man's face. A faint, ethereal trail of smoke snaked across the ground, indicating the intruder's path. The trail led to a young woman with dark hair, lying unconscious on the ground, hissing sounds emanating from her head. The young woman, disoriented, was concerned about being late for a delivery. She had collided with something and fainted, remembering only fireworks. Her injuries from the crash were evident, and she wondered where she was. A young woman with long black hair, dressed in athletic attire, awoke disoriented. She felt some soreness, but otherwise, she was unharmed. She found herself in a strange, unfamiliar place, a desolate, stone-paved area. A colossal, multi-eyed creature lay nearby, its presence both unsettling and imposing. She wondered who had brought her here. The young woman stood, seemingly unfazed by the monstrous being, and surveyed her surroundings. Suddenly, the creature's massive claw slammed down near her, narrowly missing her. Bang! A large, imposing demon appeared, its presence filling the scene. It addressed the young woman, who seemed to know it, calling it Big Brother. The demon revealed that it had been a long time since a human had appeared in this place, a place seemingly ruled by demons. The demon explained that the young woman's presence was significant, possibly due to the demonic spirits that had taken hold of her. The young man with silver hair sat slumped against a rock, his expression grim. He muttered to himself, "Don't fret. Continuing his quiet self-assurance, he added, "If there's a will, there's a way." The young woman with black hair, number 9 on her jersey, ran, her movements a blur against the gritty urban backdrop. Suddenly finding herself face to face with a monstrous, gaping maw. The creature's teeth a terrifying array of jagged points. She braced herself. And with a powerful kick, she launched herself away, the ground exploding beneath her feet, sending debris flying as she tumbled through the air. Landing hard, the impact jarring her. Disoriented, she looked around, muttering, "Eh? How did I end up like this?" She realized, with dawning horror, that's right. I seem to be enveloped by something. A dark, amorphous entity, vaguely reptilian in form, began to coalesce around her, its many eyes gleaming menacingly. The young woman with black hair recoiled in horror, her eyes wide with disgust as a monstrous, gaping maw enveloped her. "What the hell is this? So disgusting," she exclaimed. She narrowly escaped the creature's grasp, scrambling away as a piece of its flesh fell to the ground, only to find herself facing a new, even more terrifying entity. A colossal, spider-like creature loomed over her, its presence radiating malice. The young woman fell to the ground, her legs giving way under the sheer terror, her eyes widening in fear as she stared at the approaching monstrosity. A horrifying image reflected in her eyes, the creature's many eyes, glowing with malevolent energy, seemed to pierce her very soul. The creature's back pulsed with an eerie, blue energy, a chilling display of power. The young woman, now completely overwhelmed, could only watch in helpless terror as the creature's shadow consumed her. "Papa! Mama!" cried a young girl, her voice filled with distress. The young girl recalled her first memory of crying. It was when she fell from her bicycle. Her father rushed to her side, comforting her and telling her to stand up. He reassured her that she had ridden very far and that she was doing well. He gently scolded her for not holding the bicycle properly, but the girl's mother interjected, stating that there are many ways to show love. A discussion ensued between the parents about who loved their daughter more, a light-hearted argument that brought a smile to the young girl's face. However, the girl's peaceful life was soon shattered when her father fell ill. The second time she cried was when she saw her father in the hospital, weak and vulnerable. From that point on, the mother became the breadwinner, working tirelessly day and night to support the family and cover the expensive medical bills. After 3 years of illness, the father's health finally improved. He could start working again, relieving his wife of the immense burden of being the sole provider. During this time, the young woman recalled her childhood and the hardships faced. She resolved to become strong enough to protect her parents from future difficulties. However, this period of respite was short-lived. The father's illness relapsed. The mother, once strong and loving, lost her ability to smile, her spirit broken by the renewed hardship. The next time she smiled was after finding solace with another man. The mother urged her daughter to leave with her, fearing that they would both succumb to exhaustion from caring for the ailing father. But the daughter refused, determined to stay by her father's side, promising to work hard to earn money for his treatment. A year after the mother left, the father passed away. The young woman knelt before her father's grave, tears silently tracing paths down her cheeks. Her grief a stark contrast to the stillness of the night. "That was the last time I cried," she thought, the words a bitter echo in her heart. She recalled her mother's absence from her father's funeral, a wound that festered within her. "I hated Mom," she reflected, as she didn't even appear once for Dad's funeral. After her father's death, she found herself bouncing between relatives for a year, a period marked by unkindness and neglect. Until her relatives, after much discussion, decided to send her to live with her mother. Their reunion, however, was far from warm. As they met, her mother uttered a sentence that would forever be etched in the young woman's memory. A cold, dismissive statement that left her feeling utterly alone. A sentence that I will never, ever forget in my entire life. Before arriving, the narrator learned from relatives that the protagonist's current husband's company had gone bankrupt, forcing them to relocate to the suburbs to evade debt. Upon seeing her, the narrator noted that she appeared thinner and more worn than before, having clearly suffered greatly. The sight of her caused all the narrator's hatred to vanish. They realized they had missed her. The narrator reflects that they never wanted anything from her. Only that she would say she regretted leaving them. However, she only said one thing to them. "Go home, I don't have any money for you," she said, her face hardened with resolve. The protagonist's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. A young girl stood before a woman whose face was obscured by a chaotic mass of dark hair. The woman's form was tall and imposing. The girl's expression was one of quiet contemplation as she recalled a past encounter. After she had said that sentence, she thought, the memory heavy with unspoken emotion. "I no longer remembered what she looked like," the girl continued, the weight of forgotten details pressing down on her. The girl walked away, her shoulders slumped, the image of the woman fading from her mind. "I don't know why, but despite feeling extremely heartbroken and hurt, I wasn't able to cry," she reflected, her internal turmoil a stark contrast to her outwardly composed demeanor. A single tear traced a path down her cheek, a silent testament to the depth of her unspoken grief. "The only thing I felt in my heart," she thought, the emptiness echoing in her soul. The protagonist's heart ached, a stabbing pain. A pain that mirrored the understanding that in the adult world, there was something more important than love or kinship. That something was money. From that day on, she decided to work hard to earn lots of money, enough to make the woman who left them regret her actions. And vowed never to shed another tear. Starting at age 15, she began working. Becoming strong enough to disregard the contempt of her relatives and bounce between their houses for the sake of earning money. A muscular man with a sinister grin flexed his arm, a smug expression on his face. He declared, "I even learned how to protect myself." The scene shifted to a chaotic brawl in a restaurant. Several waitresses in maid outfits were violently attacking a wounded man. A young woman with long dark hair sped away on a motorcycle, a baguette in hand. She reflected, "Often, I will work for over 10 hours a day, and only have time to cram a single bread for food." Later, lying in bed, she checked her phone with a satisfied smirk. She thought, "Every single day, despite how tired I am, I will always feel happy after seeing my bank account." However, a moment of doubt crept in. She questioned, "However, has everything I've done really been worthwhile?" A split image showed her current self, hardened and resolute, juxtaposed with a younger, tearful version of herself. She continued her internal monologue, "Even if I've earned a lot of money, even if I've made that woman regret leaving us, what after?" In a dark room, illuminated only by a single light source, she stood alone, a younger version of herself crying at her feet. She whispered, "I'm still alone." Alone and defeated, the protagonist sat on the ground, tears welling in her eyes. Utterly alone in her despair, she whispered, "There will be no one that'll worry about me, nor will there be anyone that cares about my life or death." Suddenly, a monstrous creature loomed before her, its gaping maw a terrifying sight. With surprising speed and strength, she unleashed a powerful punch, connecting squarely with the creature's jaw. The impact sent the monster reeling, momentarily stunned. Another figure, a young man with blonde hair, joined the fight, delivering a swift kick that sent the monster sprawling. The protagonist watched, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and awe as the blonde-haired young man fought the monster. A single tear traced a path down her cheek, reflecting the intensity of the battle and the unexpected turn of events. The blonde-haired young man, his face alight with relief, exclaimed, "You're alive. That's great." The blonde-haired young man stood before the protagonist, who sat on the ground, visibly shaken. He declared, "I'm here to save you." The protagonist, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and relief, looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. Her sobs racking her body as the weight of her recent trauma became overwhelming. And the tears flowed freely, a torrent of emotion reflecting her ordeal. Overcome with grief, she cried out, "Wah!" A monstrous figure appeared in the background, observing the scene. It muttered, "Eh? Why are you crying again? Let's take this chance to slip away." The young man with silver hair and striking yellow eyes, his expression one of intense focus, muttered to himself, "Why do I feel that the opening is shrinking?" He looked on, concerned, as the young woman with dark hair wept openly. The monstrous pig-like creature, meanwhile, addressed the young man, "Oi, pig." The young woman, still crying, asked, "How long will that remain open for?" The monster responded, about half the time it takes to make a pot of tea." The young man, calculating, thought to himself, "That means I've got 2 minutes to play around." He began to slowly back away from the creature, his eyes narrowed in concentration as he prepared for action. A sudden burst of energy erupted as he moved, the sounds of ZNG ZZNG ZZZNG echoing the intensity of his attack. The monster, caught in a fatal illusion, revealed a key weakness: the flower patterns on its body, known as curtain gecko, could cast illusions that trapped victims in their most painful memories. With a resounding smack, the blonde-haired young man launched a swift attack against the monster, yelling, "What the hell are you doing?" The force of the blow sent the monster reeling, its form momentarily distorted as the young man roared, "Don't breathe out right in front of my face. So damn disgusting." He reflected on the monster's past actions, muttering, "It could be that he doesn't even find it painful or terrifying, not a single one of them." A smaller, boar-like monster appeared, and the ground trembled with a series of bang and rumble sounds as the blonde-haired young man and the black-haired young woman found themselves on the ground. The tremors continued, bang, rumble, 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 as the two young people remained on the ground, assessing the situation. The blonde-haired young man instructed the black-haired young woman, "Hey girl, stand behind me and don't move around." He smirked, a glint in his eyes as he declared, "It's time for my entertainment." A crackling energy, accompanied by a sizzle sound, emanated from his hand as he prepared for the next phase of the fight. The blonde-haired young man, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light, channeled a surge of energy. He explained that he usually limits his power to avoid causing too much destruction in the real world. But within this illusory space, he could unleash his full potential. His expression hardened as he activated his Borrow Lightning Talisman, a power that allows him to harness and manipulate lightning for combat. With a confident smirk, he declared, "I can do as I wish." The panel displayed the Borrow Lightning card, detailing its effects and capabilities. The card depicts the young man in his lightning-empowered state, ready for battle. The card's description confirmed that activating the talisman would allow him to unleash various lightning-imbued combat moves. The blonde-haired young man, a confident smirk playing on his lips, channeled the raw power of the Borrow Lightning Talisman, releasing a surge of blue energy that crackled and arced around him. With a powerful leap, he launched himself forward, the energy coalescing into a brilliant, concentrated blast that struck the approaching monster with explosive force. Bang echoed through the alleyway. The monster, momentarily stunned, recoiled from the impact. As the raw power of the lightning continued to course through its body, a blinding flash engulfed it, culminating in a massive explosion that rocked the ground. Boom! The force of the blast sent tremors through the alley. The monster, severely weakened, lay reeling from the attack, its form flickering and unstable as the residual energy dissipated. The aftermath of the Borrow Lightning Talisman's activation was dramatic. A surge of blue energy ripped through the city's dilapidated structures, leaving the monstrous creature severely weakened and surrounded by crackling energy, its multiple forms scattered and broken. The blonde-haired young man, the user of the talisman, stood with his back to the viewer, a satisfied smirk playing on his lips. He muttered, "Delightful." Turning to face the viewer, his smile widened. He declared, "Let's go back." Meanwhile, the black-haired young woman watched, tears streaming down her face, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and shock. The blonde-haired young man approached her, a mischievous glint in his eyes. He chuckled, "He on closer look, you are slightly cute." The black-haired young woman's fear intensified as the young man reached for her, his hand grasping her jacket. He swiftly lifted her into his arms, ignoring her protests. Who are you? What do you want?" she cried out. He responded, "Grab hold of me." The blonde-haired young man, still carrying the black-haired young woman, tapped his foot lightly on the ground, activating the wind talisman technique. A powerful gust of wind lifted them high into the air, spinning them upwards in a dizzying ascent. The black-haired young woman cried out, "So high." As the blonde-haired young man chuckled, "You're hugging too tightly." Below, the defeated monster lay on the ground. A narration box appeared, stating, "He's able to activate the Wu-Win talisman technique with a tap of his feet?" Another narration box explained the principles of Taoism and talisman techniques, highlighting the rarity of mastering multiple elements without physical talismans. The narration continued, emphasizing the unusual nature of the blonde-haired young man's abilities, concluding with the question, "Exactly what kind of?" As they soared through the darkening sky, a final narration box declared, "Saint is he." A group of cloaked figures, including a woman with pink hair and antler-like headwear, stood before a dark, stormy sky, watching as a bright light descended from above. One of the figures, a cloaked individual, questioned the need to investigate the background of a certain person. Another figure, also cloaked, responded with a single, decisive word, "No." A third figure, this one with a fox-like face and green eyes, declared that no one is permitted to stray from the Lord. Two shadowy figures, one cloaked and the other resembling a ninja, stood in a dark cavern. The scene shifted to a dark, cavernous landscape, a single, small orange light visible in the distance. Finally, the view settled on a dark, mountainous region, a fiery orange glow emanating from a peak in the center. A fiery, amber-like form, vaguely humanoid, was shown partially obscured, suggesting a being trapped within. The form was fully revealed, a figure with intricate, dark markings etched onto its skin, crouched within the glowing amber prison. High above, a dark, stormy sky was pierced by a descending beam of golden light, radiating warmth and power. The light descended further, its golden rays cutting through the clouds, revealing a colossal, jagged form partially obscured by the clouds. The pink-haired woman, her expression unreadable, watched the descending light, her thoughts unvoiced. Meanwhile, a young woman with light green hair exclaimed, "Big Sister Long, Tang Ka." A dark-haired woman, seemingly in distress, was shown engulfed in a swirling vortex of teal energy. The dark-haired woman's eyes glowed with an intense, fiery red as a teal energy enveloped her. A stark contrast to the cracks of dark energy spreading across her iris, hinting at a transformation. A figure, propelled by an intense energy, hurtled through the air, plummeting towards a gaping chasm below, the ground rushing up to meet them with a deafening crunch. A cloaked figure, their face obscured by a mask resembling a stylized, grinning demon, loomed over a prone young man. The figure's attire suggested a position of authority, perhaps religious or ceremonial, with its dark robes and ornate details. The cloaked figure addressed the young man, their voice laced with anger, "You brat! It was so hard for us to exile it." The young man, his eyes wide with defiance, retorted, "Why did you bring it back?" The young man, clearly agitated, continued his argument, his voice rising in frustration, "I've done you guys a big favor, and yet you dare shout at me?" The scene shifted to reveal a dark-haired woman, her eyes glowing with an eerie, orange light, horns sprouting from her temples. Her transformation was complete. With a swift, decisive movement, the young man struck the woman, the impact echoing in the sharp sound of a slap. The force of the blow sent the woman sprawling across the ground, her body limp and unresponsive. The young man stood over the fallen woman, his expression a mixture of anger and concern, as a faint wisp of energy escaped her. One of the cloaked figures, seemingly the leader, expressed their astonishment. It had taken considerable effort to restrain the entity, yet the young man had knocked it unconscious with a single blow. Another cloaked figure pointed out the dark-haired woman's transformation. She now appeared human, emitting a distinctly human scent, despite having been clearly a mummy moments before. The cloaked figures decided to leave, citing their lack of authority to interfere in human affairs. They were clearly frustrated by the turn of events. One of them even mentioned having invited their eighth brother for drinks, highlighting their wasted effort and annoyance. As they departed, they pondered the young man's ability to identify the woman's true nature. One cloaked figure revealed that the young man possessed a unique Taoist eye skill capable of observing the souls of living creatures. This skill, rare even among Taoists, allowed him to see that the woman was not truly human. The cloaked figure marveled at the young man's ability to cultivate such a skill at such a young age, before departing in a burst of flames. The young man cradled the unconscious dark-haired woman, her transformation complete. He noted, with a mixture of concern and bewilderment, that she was drooling. A caption box above them read, "His background isn't simple." Suddenly, a black aircraft appeared in the distance, prompting the young man to shout, "Tanka!" A stern-faced, sunglasses-wearing figure appeared on a screen, issuing a curt order: "I order you to return to headquarters within 3 minutes. If not, you should know the consequences." The young man, now in a large, technologically advanced room, addressed what appeared to be a holographic projection of his superiors, saying, "Yes. Please calm down, Big Sister Long. I'll make sure to give an explanation later." The dark-haired woman remained unconscious, her face serene in sleep. A close-up revealed small, circular devices implanted in her temples, connected to a breathing apparatus. Medical personnel monitored her vital signs, reporting brainwaves normal, blood pressure normal, heartbeat normal. The scene shifted to show the woman's feet strapped to a medical bed, with the caption, "Next up dash." A systematic scan revealed that all souls had returned to their bodies. However, a grim discovery was made: over 100 people perished at the construction site. The news was relayed to a young man with gray hair, who reacted with a look of grim understanding. A woman confronted the young man, furious about the high casualty rate despite his involvement in the mission. She angrily questioned his actions, to which he responded that he had done his best. The woman, while acknowledging the mission's inherent risks, expressed her dissatisfaction with the outcome and refused to simply forgive him. The young man explained that he had gone to the target location immediately after accepting the mission. But the entity responsible had seemingly detected his presence and fled before he could engage. The young man with gray hair mused on the mission, reflecting that his golden eyes allowed him to avoid detection by the two protector uncles, unlike the little girl who was exiled for being detected. He boasted about his top performance and mission accomplishment stats, a smug expression on his face, while two women, one looking angry and the other amused, watched him. However, a shadow of doubt crossed his face as he questioned whether the girl was human or a demon. The scene shifted to a futuristic medical facility where the girl was being examined. A caption indicated that the verdict was up to the examiners. A scientist attempted to take a blood sample using a large-gauge needle, but it failed to penetrate the girl's skin. Another scientist, labeled 05 Foot, tried the same procedure with the same result. Finally, a high-powered drill was brought out to attempt to penetrate the girl's skin. Scientist 08, a figure clad in sterile white, prepared a device resembling a futuristic firearm. He declared, "It's up to me then." The girl lay strapped to a table, her body the subject of intense scrutiny. A nearby monitor displayed the results of the examination. Other than the abnormal brainwave activity, which were waiting for analysis, all of her other parameters are within normal human boundaries. A blood sample was successfully drawn. A nearby associate asked, "Blood sample successfully acquired. Do we have to do the tests simultaneously?" The mission supervisor responded curtly, "Yes." A microscopic view of the girl's blood revealed a vibrant crimson flow of red blood cells. The image of the blood was projected onto a large screen for the team to observe. The young man with gray hair observed the display with growing concern. Suddenly, the blood cells began to glow with an unnatural, electric energy. The woman, associate, gasped in surprise. The transformation of the blood cells continued, their appearance shifting dramatically. Scientist 08 peered through a high-powered microscope, his expression one of intense focus. The microscope lens shattered, the image on the screen distorted and then went black. A high-pitched hiss filled the room. The team reacted with alarm, the young man with gray hair shouting, "Hey! What's the matter? Respond!" A mission supervisor urgently instructed a masked operative, "Immediately stream your visual uplink to me." The operative complied, "Yes." The image showed the girl's eye, glowing with an unnatural red light. A damaged computer lay in smoldering ruins, surrounded by scattered debris. The scientists observed the screen, one commenting, "So much power from just a single drop of blood." Another scientist asked, "What's the analysis of her brainwave activity?" A third scientist responded, "Gimme a moment." The results were in. The young man with gray hair, his expression a mixture of apprehension and discomfort, inwardly pleaded with the woman, Big sis Long. You can beat and scold me, but please don't use such a tone and smiling expression to look at me. The young man with gray hair, Tang Ka, expressed his fear of the power contained within a single drop of blood from the unconscious girl. His apprehension was palpable. Yet, the woman, his superior, dismissed his concerns, highlighting his impressive feat of knocking her out with a single slap. She found his actions awesome. The woman explained that the girl is a hybrid, a being between human and demon, and a powerful commander. She also revealed that the girl's status prevents the unlocking of demonic spirits. Tang Ka, increasingly worried, protested, reminding his superior of the regulations concerning demonic spirits and their role as protectors. He pointed out that despite her powers, the girl is still half human. He pleaded with the woman, begging her not to make him carry this burden alone. His distress was evident. But the woman remained unmoved, calmly stating that she is the one who decides whether he stays or leaves. She offered him a choice: find a way to appease his master or return to mountain cultivation. Tang Ka, resolute, accepted the challenge, stating that as a man, he will see the mission through to the end. Sister Long, the mission supervisor, briefed the young man with gray hair. She emphasized two crucial points: his mission to the other world must remain secret, and the unconscious girl under his care should never be left alone. The young man, clearly apprehensive, nodded in understanding. He was then dismissed, told to await further contact from Jingxi. Alone, the young man reflected on the mission's gravity, feeling a sense of foreboding. He wondered about the connection between the girl and the calamity. Sister Long and her associate, Sister Jingxi, discussed the young man's capabilities. They acknowledged his power, estimating it to be only 10% of his true potential. The young man, seemingly unconcerned, maintained a resolute expression. Sister Long and Sister Jingxi continued their conversation, expressing concern that the girl might be in danger due to the possibility of the mummy regaining control. They decided to proceed, leaving to submit their reports to their superiors. Sister Long, burdened by responsibility, reflected on the need to constantly clean up after the young man's actions. The young man with gray hair sighed, his shoulders slumping as he walked through the city streets. It felt, he mused, like only difficult days lay ahead. A sense of foreboding settling upon him. Must be karma, he muttered to himself. As he walked, a network of crimson threads began to emanate from his back. Growing in intensity and number, snaking around him like living veins. The threads extended, reaching out across the city, connecting to various points in the urban landscape. A vast, intricate web forming across the cityscape. The red threads continued their expansion, stretching beyond the city limits. Reaching towards a distant, shrouded peak, a lone mountain piercing the misty horizon. Crimson threads, thin as hairs, snaked across the twilight sky above a distant, mist-shrouded fortress. Converging on a large, ornate compass-like object resting on the ground below. The threads pulsed with an eerie energy as they drew closer to the object, which seemed to hum with a faint power. Suddenly, the threads snapped one by one, as if severed by an unseen force. The snapping echoed through the air, accompanied by a strange, unsettling silence. A large, dark turtle-like creature emerged from the center of the compass, its shell gleaming ominously. The young man with gray hair, witnessing this from afar, gasped in shock. The lines broke, he wondered, his apprehension growing. A woman with short, dark hair answered a phone call, a thoughtful expression on her face. Meanwhile, a man with dark hair tied back received a call, his expression shifting to one of annoyance as he spoke. The woman on the other end of the line reacted with anger, her voice sharp and accusatory as she spoke to the man. The man responded calmly, revealing information that surprised the woman. The woman's eyes widened in shock as she processed the information, her expression shifting to one of disbelief. Li Yichuan, the 17th generation leader of Tao Esoteric, sat in contemplation, his expression thoughtful and concerned. The woman ended the call, her expression unreadable, while the man on the other end of the line smiled knowingly. Old Song, the Mount leader for 5 generations, addressed Li Yichuan, revealing that he has been observing him for a long time, and explained that letting events unfold as they may is the best course of action, as misfortune may appear in the future. Further emphasizing that each person has their own fate, and neither he nor Lee Ich-wan can interfere or change it. Old Song reassured Lee Ich-wan, advising him not to worry too much. Lee Ich-wan, taking Old Song's words to heart, decided to enjoy the moonlight. A luminous figure, seemingly weightless, drifted through a dark void, its form gradually solidifying into a young woman with striking, fiery orange eyes and long, white hair. She appeared disoriented, her body radiating a soft, ethereal glow as she slowly came to awareness. A look of confusion washed over her face as she murmured, "What's going on?" A woman's hand, glowing with the same ethereal light, materialized before her. She gasped, My hand?" The woman floated, seemingly suspended in the darkness, a vast, skeletal figure looming ominously in the background. A sudden, sharp exclamation punctuated the silence as the skeletal figure moved into view, its menacing form filling the panel. The woman's eyes widened in alarm as she stared at the approaching monstrosity. Her gaze fixed on the creature, she recognized a detail, whispering, "Is that human? I've seen him before." The young woman, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and recognition, stared at the monstrous figure looming before her. "The shadow before the crash," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the pounding of her heart. The creature's skeletal frame, partially obscured by swirling darkness, was adorned with glowing, vibrant green markings that pulsed with an unnatural light. Its clawed hand twitched, a subtle movement that hinted at the immense power it possessed. With a sudden, violent burst of energy, the young woman was engulfed in a blinding white light. The light subsided, revealing the young woman's form, now radiating an inner glow, her eyes burning with an intense, fiery orange light. The young woman awoke with a start, her eyes wide with alarm, finding herself in an unfamiliar bedroom. She questioned if it was all a dream. Confused, she noticed her surroundings and questioned her location. A wave of disorientation washed over her as she registered the changes in her attire. She noted the alteration of her clothing and a strange, cool breeze, suspecting a supernatural element, confirming her suspicions as she discovered her undergarments were missing. The young woman, increasingly unsettled, wondered if she had stumbled into something supernatural and questioned the identity of the house's owner. The young woman recounted a series of traumatic events, a car crash, a monstrous dream, and a terrifying encounter with creatures from the sky, culminating in her rescue by a mysterious teenager who carried her upwards. These memories brought up unpleasant feelings, leading her to question the teenager's existence. Meanwhile, the teenager, a young man with silver hair, pondered whether his presence in her memories was merely a figment of her imagination, or if he had genuinely played a role in protecting her. The young woman, still processing her ordeal, reflected on the teenager's strength and warm smile, wishing he were real so he could protect her. The scene shifted to a modern bedroom. The young woman awoke to find herself in an unfamiliar setting, wearing different clothes. She was startled by the sudden appearance of the silver-haired teenager, who was only partially clothed. He greeted her, confirming her suspicion that he was real. Her surprise quickly turned to outrage as she realized he had removed her undergarments. She was shocked by his actions, finding him to be a completely unexpected type of person. In a swift move, she grabbed a pillow and struck him, causing him to stumble. The young woman, still upset, questioned the young man, "What's wrong with you?" He retorted defensively, "I saved you out of the goodness of my heart, but you still dare to attack me?" Enraged, she screamed, "You pervert! Who allows you to remove my clothes?" She clutched her body, whispering, "Is his bottom made of steel? It hurts." He explained, "Your whole body was wet. I was scared that you may catch a flu. That's why I got you to take a bath." She exclaimed, "What? You still bathe, take a bath for me?" She continued, flustered, "My master said before, only married couples can bathe together." A monstrous face loomed, its glowing eyes fixed on something unseen. The creature snarled, "That's the one that washes you." A young woman and a young man were startled by the sudden appearance of the monster in their living room. The woman recoiled in terror, screaming, "A monster touched my body?" The monster whimpered softly, seemingly distressed. The young woman continued to cry out in fear, while the young man looked on, shocked. The young man, attempting to explain, stated that despite its appearance, the creature was a gentle one from the demon world, and that the girl, though appearing older, was only 5 years old. He urged the young man to apologize. The young woman, still shaken, stammered an apology. The young woman's eyes widened in shock, a single bead of sweat trickling down her temple as she whispered, "Demons?" The young man, partially visible, stood in a bedroom, a large, muscular demon beside him. He explained, "This world is one where humans and demons coexist. Only normal humans like you are completely unaware." The young man, now fully visible, shirtless and with a towel around his waist, revealed more. "In addition, one of them is inside your body." The young woman's face registered confusion and disbelief, question marks swirling around her head as she processed the shocking information. The demon, irritated, muttered, "So annoying." The demon addressed the young woman, "You shall treat her the rest of it." The demon apologized, "Sorry about that." The monster, seemingly apologetic, began to explain the complex relationship between demons and humans, starting from the very beginning. Detailing how, long ago, demons had existed in this world and that the majority of them preyed on humans for sustenance. And how initially, humans lacked the strength to resist these powerful demons. Explaining that this is why humans had historically served as food for the demons. However, after many years, humans with extraordinary powers emerged, bravely fighting back against the demonic threat. Forming an organization called Esoteric with the mission of protecting humanity worldwide. Leading to a decrease in demon attacks, but also causing world leaders to grow wary of Esoteric. Which resulted in Esoteric being hunted. Later, following a cataclysmic event, demons and humans forged an armistice, agreeing to coexist peacefully. A pivotal moment in history that led to the establishment of Yao Chang Si, an organization tasked with monitoring demons residing in the human world. Specifically those with malicious intent towards humans. The monster summarized the situation for the young woman, stating that was the gist of it. The young woman, still apprehensive, inquired about the demon residing within her body. The monster explained that she would need to speak with Big Brother Tangka about that matter. Meanwhile, the young man, observing the scene, declared that it was a good time to get some work done. The young woman, startled by his sudden statement, reacted with confusion. The young man, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light, instructed her to lie down on the bed. The young woman, eyes wide with alarm, questioned the young man's unsettling statement. He explained that the demon's aura she was exhibiting was growing stronger, a clear indication of its increasing influence. Warning that if left unchecked, her consciousness would be completely consumed by the demon within her body. Worried, the young woman wondered if the demon the young man referred to was the monster from her dream. She also contemplated his intentions, apprehensive about his next move. The young man, with a sinister smile, revealed his plan to cast a spell on her. He initiated the Tao-exclusive, conscious wandering spell, a swift, focused incantation. The young woman fell onto the bed with a thud, her body limp and unresponsive. A monstrous figure loomed over her, its grotesque features illuminated by an eerie glow. "Master," it rasped, she. The monster's gaze intensified, its eyes burning with an unnatural light. Meanwhile, the young man, his own eyes glowing faintly, stood nearby, seemingly exhausted but satisfied. A wave of energy emanated from him, subtly shifting the atmosphere. The monster's head tilted slightly, its attention momentarily diverted. The young woman's subconscious is shown, a dark, ethereal space where the young man stands, his form glowing faintly. He states, "This is your subconscious." The young woman awakens within this space, disoriented and surprised. How are you here?" she exclaims, her voice filled with disbelief. "And how are you knowing my thoughts?" The young man responds calmly, "Because my consciousness followed you in. Thus, whatever you are thinking, including your feelings, I know them all." He explains, "That's right. The reason why you can't move. is because your consciousness is disappearing bit by bit, he reveals, his expression serious. The young woman, observing ethereal lights emanating from her, questions, all these white lights, are my consciousness? The young man looks on, his gaze fixed on the dissipating lights. He muses, what will happen if this body of lights disappears? The answer is as you feared. Your consciousness will be completely erased. In other words, death. He offers a glimmer of hope, but worry not, as long as we get rid of that before you disappear. The young woman's consciousness, fading within her subconscious, is observed by the young man. He reassures her, stating, you'll be fine. A monstrous figure looms, its back turned, revealing a skeletal, biomechanical design with glowing green accents. The monstrous figure's immense legs are shown, dwarfing the young man and the fading young woman. As young woman's form disintegrates into shimmering particles, leaving only a faint, ethereal glow. The young man, using his consciousness to fight, reflects internally, using consciousness to fight. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. A close-up reveals the monster's terrifying, skeletal face, adorned with a mask bearing glowing orange eyes and a sharp, fanged grin. The monster confronts the young man, who appears as a translucent, ethereal figure. The monster states, seems like your consciousness has recovered. The monster, its features obscured by shadow, loomed over the young woman and the young man. A chilling grin stretched across its face as it issued a challenge, let's fight. The monster, though merely a consciousness, could still sense the young man's presence. It recognized him as the one who had been pursuing it, and stated that the young man's ability to track it down despite its efforts to evade him was remarkable. The young man, impatient with the monster's rambling, challenged it to a fight. The monster, certain that Bowen had sent the young man, pressed him for information, threatening to devour him if he refused to cooperate. The young man, growing angrier, demanded the monster stop its nonsensical talk and prepare for battle. He warned the monster to stop its babbling or face his wrath. The young man's eyes narrowed, his resolve hardening as he prepared to strike. The monster unleashed a devastating kick, connecting with the young man's face with a resounding boom, sending him sprawling across the ground with a bang, as the impact reverberated through the air. The monster's fist whipped through the air, a blur of motion, connecting with the young man's head in a second explosive boom, as the force of the blow sent him flying. The young man was sent soaring through the air, a trail of light following him as he flew. The monster's crimson energy crackling around him as he prepared for another attack. The monster's face contorted into a wide, terrifying grin, its eyes glowing with malevolent intent. Just then, a primal instinct to flee overwhelmed the young man, and he instinctively kicked off the ground, escaping the monster's immediate reach. The monster loomed, its skeletal visage a terrifying mask of malice, its glowing eyes fixed on the young man who had just dared to strike it. The young man, his face etched with disbelief, questioned the monster's strength. The young man's thoughts were a whirlwind of shock and disbelief as he processed the monster's power. A close-up on the monster's eye revealed a chilling intensity, a silent promise of retribution. The young man, his face contorted in anger, spat out a defiant curse, you just had to hit my face, huh? Bastard! The monster, unfazed, simply observed the young man, its expression a mixture of amusement and disdain. Even though he looked like a normal human being, the monster sensed an overwhelming aura of danger emanating from him. The scene shifted to a wide shot, emphasizing the sheer scale of the monster's power as it unleashed a wave of dark energy. The young man, despite his injuries, stood defiant, his resolve unwavering. The monster, impressed by the young man's resilience, acknowledged his strength before preparing for a counterattack. As expected of an S rank, to be able to deal damage to me. Your punches are great. Now, it's my turn. The monstrous figure, its skeletal features illuminated by an eerie inner glow, addressed the young man. You might be strong, it stated, its voice a chilling rasp. However, it continued, you seem to have forgotten. The young man, his back to the viewer, stood defiant, his body radiating a faint, ethereal light. The monster revealed a crucial piece of information, this place is also my subconscious. With a powerful grip, the monster held the young man aloft, its immense size dwarfing the human form. The monster explained, "This clone is formed here by my hatred for revenge. It's unbreakable. You can't break loose." Despite the young man's struggle, the monster maintained its hold, adding, "Your consciousness might be powerful, but I can still cause damage to you." The monster, now lying prone, prepared for a final, devastating attack, promising, "In addition, right here, I can create." The monstrous figure revealed its true form, countless clones, stretching into the distance, each a mirror of its horrifying self. A legion of identical beings, their skeletal frames adorned with glowing green veins. The monstrous manifestation revealed itself to be a legion of identical clones. Their speed might not match his, but their combined strength was a considerable threat. A single punch from any one of them could turn him to ash, the young man realized. The clones surged forward, a terrifying wave of darkness closing in on him. "You made a mistake by coming here," one of them hissed. A close-up on one of the monstrous faces, its sharp teeth bared in a cruel grin. The monstrous face loomed closer, its eyes burning with malevolent intent. The young man braced himself, his expression grim. He was facing overwhelming odds, yet a flicker of defiance shone in his eyes. The young man's eye reflected a terrifying vision, countless monstrous figures, closing in. He stood defiant, a single figure against a tide of monstrous clones. The horde surged forward, their skeletal arms reaching for him. Despite the overwhelming odds, the young man remained calm, his expression betraying only mild annoyance. He muttered, "It's just clones. Old trick and boring." With a burst of energy, he unleashed a powerful counterattack. A wave of turquoise energy erupted, sweeping through the ranks of the clones, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. A sinister smile played on his lips as he channeled more power, his eyes blazing with determination. With a deafening boom, the young man unleashed a wave of energy, obliterating the oncoming clones, revealing the monstrous figure behind them. This consciousness is his true form," someone gasped. The young man, his body glowing with ethereal light, declared, "I pretended to take one blow from you and was looking forward to the killing blow." He added, with a sneer, "This shit is what you've prepared for me?" The monster, seemingly weakened, watched as its clone army was decimated. More clones began to assemble. The young man, unimpressed, muttered, "This is utterly boring." He then added, with a sigh, "Geez, I thought I could have a good fight." The monster, enraged, bellowed, "Not good. Clones, assemble." The remaining clones surged forward, but the young man stood ready, a confident smirk playing on his lips. A vast army of the monster's clones charged forward. But the young man effortlessly repelled them with a single, devastating blast of energy. The clones exploded in a shower of light and energy. The monster, witnessing the annihilation of its clone army, roared in enraged frustration. Total annihilation? The monster, weakened but still powerful, landed heavily, addressing the young man. "You, a tiny clone, think you can beat me into oblivion?" The young man, confident and slightly bored, leaned back, a smirk playing on his lips. "And dare to call yourself invincible?" The monster lunged, but the young man casually deflected the attack with a flick of his wrist, sending the monster flying backward with a resounding bang. The young man stated, "This is what invincible means." The young man, seemingly unfazed, relaxed in a pool of energy, a faint smile on his face as the defeated monster fell away. The young man stood over the defeated monster, its skeletal form smoldering on the ground, observing as consciousness flickered back into its empty sockets. Its consciousness has already started recovering. Not bad, the monster thought. The young man's body, now completely reformed, stood before the woman, his expression grim. He spoke of a past enemy from a previous life. The woman's eyes, burning with an intense orange light, reflected her concern. What exactly did he go through that caused him to become this, she wondered. The woman's body began to reform, her form coalescing from ethereal energy. "My body is forming back," she noted, her voice a soft whisper as she watched her body take shape. The young man, sensing the urgency, instructed her to quickly think of a container to seal him away. Confused, the woman questioned his request. Container? What do you mean? The young man explained, this is your subconscious. Only you can create an item to seal that guy. Anything is fine. There isn't much time left for me. A young man and woman, both ethereal in appearance, stood facing each other. The man questioned what he should create, listing off items like a handbag, necklace, and ring. While the woman exclaimed that she wasn't asking him to think of what to buy, as nearly half of her body was disappearing. The man's body began to transform, a blue energy emanating from him as he exclaimed, "This is it." The blue energy intensified, engulfing him completely, leaving only a faint outline of his form as he struggled against the transformation. The woman watched in surprise as a giant lipstick appeared before her. From within the lipstick, a monstrous figure emerged, its face a terrifying skull-like mask. A woman's form, radiating a brilliant blue light, began to dissipate, her ethereal essence drifting towards a dark, imposing structure. As if drawn to it by an unseen force, the skeletal hand of a monstrous figure reached out from behind the structure, its touch seemingly sealing the woman's energy within. The monstrous creature's skull-like face was revealed, its empty sockets staring blankly ahead. A series of kek sounds echoed around it. A single drop of icy liquid splashed onto a dark surface, sending out a small spray, the impact echoing the words "so cold." A cold rain began to fall, soaking the landscape. The woman, weak and disoriented, felt the icy rain on her skin, her body heavy and aching with a sharp, persistent pain. She noticed a pool of blood nearby, questioning if it was her own. In the distance, she heard laughter, a chilling sound that sent shivers down her spine. She looked up, her vision blurry, and saw a figure standing in the rain. The figure spoke, asking, "Who are you?" Suyi Qiao's eyes snapped open, wide with alarm, as she was met with the intense gaze of a man with silver hair and piercing yellow eyes. A gasp escaped her lips as she looked up at a towering skyscraper, its imposing height filling her vision, the sheer scale of the building emphasizing her vulnerability. Fear clouded her features as she whispered, "What are you planning to do to me?" The silver-haired man responded calmly, "You have been unconscious and mumbling non-stop. I was only moving closer to smell if there are any more demonic aura on you." He continued, "If that's the case, is it possible for you to move away from my body?" The woman awoke in a strange bedroom, her heart pounding. A man with silver hair stood nearby, and she exclaimed, "It's still inside my body?" The man calmly asked, "What happened?" He explained that he had been chasing a demon that had fused with her body. In simpler terms, the demon, after causing havoc using her body, was brought back to Yao Changxi. However, due to her unique identity, neither human nor demon, she was placed under the man's care. Therefore, she would stay with him until they found a way to remove the demons from her body. The woman's eyes widened in shock. What? She protested, "What's the difference between this and being imprisoned? Moreover, how can I live in a male stranger's house?" The man, seemingly unfazed by her outburst, retorted, "Who knows if you're lying or not? Putting the bathing matter aside, just then, your face is so close to my face that you could have kissed me. What if you?" The young man, his expression a mixture of confusion and curiosity, questioned the demon's statement about kissing. The demon, in response, explained that it was an act of affection, while the woman, witnessing the exchange, reacted with disbelief. The young man, attempting to defend himself, claimed to have learned about kissing from television dramas, prompting the woman to angrily accuse him of acting dumb. The young man, still bewildered, insisted he didn't understand what the demon meant. The demon, in turn, elaborated on the physical aspects of kissing, describing it as a disgusting exchange of saliva, leaving the woman even more infuriated and suspicious. The young man, observing the woman's intense gaze, began to suspect that she might be onto something. He seemed to consider the possibility that she might know more than she let on. A thought that intensified as she considered the possibility of him being the legendary dimwit. Exhausted, the young man declared, "I'm so tired. Let's continue tomorrow." The woman responded, "You can sleep here for now." The scene shifted to the interior of a room. The woman, the young man, and the large demon were present. The demon insisted, "Wait a moment. If I insist on going out, what will you do?" The young man, turning his back, stated resolutely, "As a man, I will never beat a woman." He added, "If you want to go out, I won't stop you." However, he offered a warning, "But let me warn you, if you're not by my side, that guy in your body might reappear again." The woman, her expression apprehensive, stated, "Only I can guarantee your safety." The young man, looking concerned, cautioned her, "Also, don't wander off. There are many demons that live here, it's none of my business if you got a scare." Later, the young man observed, "Looks like that's it for now." The woman, settling into bed, reflected, "I don't have anywhere to go either. He saved me too." She concluded, lying in bed, "Although he might look sloppy, he is a good person." The woman, nestled in the bed, drifted off to sleep. She murmured to herself, "Is it because I'm too tired?" She found the unfamiliar bed surprisingly comfortable. A stark contrast to the relative's house where she'd been staying. She slept soundly. The woman shifted slightly in her sleep, her body making small, restless movements under the covers, a soft wiggle accompanying each adjustment. Suddenly, a series of creaking sounds echoed from the shadows, growing louder with each passing moment. The woman stirred again, her sleep disturbed by the unsettling noises. A statement appeared, explaining that chapters would be delayed due to a lack of redrawers to clean the chapters. A young woman with long, dark hair lay in bed, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and disbelief. It was dawn, and the events of the previous day still weighed heavily on her mind. The room was modern and spacious, sunlight streaming in through the large windows. She sat up in bed, her expression troubled. "Even now, I still can't believe what happened yesterday," she thought, her fiery orange eyes reflecting her inner turmoil. A wave of anxiety washed over her as she considered the implications of her current situation. Do I really have to live with that guy from now on? Also, the thing inside my body, what do I do? She wondered, her voice barely a whisper. A sudden, sharp pain shot through her, causing her to gasp. Her eyes widened in alarm. An intense light flared in her vision as she looked towards a distant, towering skyscraper, the Burj Khalifa, visible through her window. A strangled cry escaped her lips, "Ah!" A young man with silver hair bursts through a door, exclaiming, "Big sister! What happened?" He is followed by a large, green-skinned, horned creature. The creature's menacing expression adding to the tension. The young man looks distressed. A young woman stands before a breathtaking vista of a sprawling cityscape, her hands outstretched in awe. She observes the scene, remarking, "I didn't notice this last night. This scenery, this height, the heart of the city." Her eyes widen, reflecting the city lights, as she whispers, could it be?" A title card appears, Northern City New District, King of all buildings. The image shows a massive, futuristic skyscraper dominating the skyline. The woman clutches her head in disbelief, muttering, "I must be dreaming." More details about the skyscraper are revealed, standing at 30,000 high and 150,000 square feet high and located at Lusang City Marina. It's a combination of top-notch high-quality luxurious mansions and the highest skyscraper in the world. The floors from gold to the top are 121 floors. The height is 30,000 feet. It's $250,000 per square foot. It hit the world record of being the most expensive skyscraper in the world. Wave Bay, aka number 1. The woman's eyes glow with a fiery intensity. The silver-haired young man asks, "Are you a property agent? You weren't even that shocked with all those events that happened yesterday." The scene opens with a young woman, startled by a loud noise, and a young man, accompanied by a large green creature. The woman exclaims that she heard screaming. The woman is shown from behind, standing before a panoramic window overlooking a sprawling cityscape, a massive skyscraper dominating the view. A strange, serpentine appendage is attached to her lower back, wriggling slightly. Her expression shifts to one of utter shock and disbelief as she registers the impossible scale of the building and her unusual new appendage. The young man and the large creature look on, the young man appearing concerned, while the creature seems unconcerned. The woman questions the nature of the situation, expressing confusion and alarm. The young man's gaze sharpens, his expression hardening slightly as he assesses the situation. The woman, with the strange appendage still attached, attempts to detach it, moving swiftly across the room. The appendage propels her forward with surprising speed. The young man reacts, launching himself forward with surprising agility to intercept her. The large green creature watches as the young man attempts to stop the woman, who is now moving at high speed, propelled by the strange appendage. The scene ends with the young man and the large creature facing off against the woman. A bone-like appendage, jagged and sharp, erupted from the floor with a loud creak, its tip aimed directly at the unnamed woman. The young man, eyes wide with alarm, braced himself to intercept whatever was about to happen. But the appendage propelled the woman across the room with incredible speed, a blur of motion marked by multiple whoosh sound effects as she was flung through the air. The force of the impact sent her crashing into a wall, the sudden stop leaving a trail of dust and debris. The young man, despite his attempt to intervene, was unable to stop the appendage's momentum, and he was himself thrown back by the sheer force. He landed heavily, his body sprawled across the floor, the bone appendage now extending towards the large green creature, who watched passively from a distance. The woman, now small and distant, was being dragged across the room by the appendage, her voice barely audible as she cried out, "Big brother Tanka!" The appendage continued to pull her, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake, as the young man watched helplessly from the floor. A young woman, clad in a simple shirt and slippers, was violently pulled across the room by several bone-like appendages extending from an unseen source. The appendages, sharp and menacing, were aimed directly at her eyes, causing her to cry out in terror. A young man, nearby, attempted to intervene, but the appendages effortlessly restrained the woman, dragging her further away despite his efforts. "Halt," he shouted, but his pleas were ignored. Observing the scene from a distance was a large, green creature, its expression unreadable, as the young man was pulled to the ground, his efforts futile. The creature simply muttered, "Interesting." A pink can of soda lay on a black background, its contents suddenly spurting out with a forceful swoosh. The soda sprays across the room, narrowly missing a young man and a young woman. As the woman discovers she can control the strange, dark appendage that has emerged from the can. The woman, surprised by her newfound ability, mutters to herself, I can actually control it?" Meanwhile, a young man watches from a distance, his back turned to the viewer. Another young man, with silver hair, exclaims, "So cool. I want a tail too." A young man, concerned, questioned his older brother, Tanka, about the danger of a looming, monstrous figure. He expressed worry about the potential risks. Tanka, with a confident smirk, reassured him, urging him to use his full strength. The younger brother, emboldened, responded with a resolute "got it." A young woman with long black hair, wielding bone-like weapons, launched a swift attack. She apologized to her brother as her dark, whip-like appendages lashed out. The whips cracked and extended, creating a whirlwind of motion. A flurry of powerful strikes radiating energy. The impact resonated, creating a powerful shockwave that sent tremors through the room. The monster's attack was completely blocked by the girl's whip-like appendages. Tanka's sister stood, her newly manifested whip-like tail swaying gently behind her. Tanka, observing from a distance, explained, "Not only can you control it, it can also instinctively protect you." He continued, explaining the tail's function, as to why the tail appeared now. "Tanka, you must have thought you were in danger when you got a shock, which caused the tail to target the biggest threat nearby." The sister's tail reacted instantly, deflecting an unseen attack with surprising speed and power. Tanka's younger brother, impressed, simply stated, "Watch." With a confident grin, he demonstrated the tail's defensive capabilities, snapping it with surprising force. Tanka's sister, marveling at her new ability, muttered to herself, damn, to actually be able to use its ability after sealing the demon's consciousness. Looking out at the city from their apartment, she voiced her concern, but this tale is super ugly. I'll get noticed as a monster if I go out. Her brother, however, disagreed, asking, you really think it's ugly? Tanka's sister, still adjusting to her new whip-like tail, was instructed to focus and try to conceal it. She replied, is that right? I'll try. She struggled, internally repeating, hide it. Hide it. Hide it. And with a visible effort, managed to completely retract her tail. It really hid itself, she exclaimed, impressed by her own newfound control. Tanka's younger brother appeared, commenting on the situation. He stated that she still needed to work on controlling her new ability and to behave herself. This was also his first time meeting a fusion of human and demon. He admitted that he didn't know how to remove the demonic presence from his sister yet. Tanka's sister, expressing her desire to join Yao Changxi, made a heart shape with her hands. Her brother looked confused and concerned. Tanka's sister, angered by her brother's apparent lack of faith in her abilities, retorted, don't you dare look down on me. Tanka's younger brother and sister continued to argue about her newfound abilities and her aspirations to join Yao Changxi. Until Tanka, observing their dispute from a distance, intervened, silencing them with a curt command, stop bickering. Time to work. Tanka, the protagonist, checked his phone. Reading a message that informed him that the board had suspended all his missions, leaving him jobless and despondent. He slumped onto a chair, muttering to himself, I'm jobless. His sister entered the room, offering a suggestion, I might be able to help. She approached him, but he reacted defensively, snapping, don't cause me more trouble. This happened because of you. Explaining that his current mission was put on hold, and that his only task was to keep an eye on her. She then proposed a solution, we can accept side jobs. Tanka's eyes, wide and intense, reflected a mixture of disbelief and grim determination. A sinister smile spreading across his face as he muttered, damn. The sudden shift in his demeanor hinted at a plan forming in his mind. His expression turned to one of confusion as he questioned, we? Zhuang Xiaoran, with a confident smile, proposed a partnership. She would handle job offers while they worked together to eradicate demons, splitting the bounty 70-30 in Tanka's favor. Zhuang Xiaoran extended her hand, introducing herself and suggesting they work together pleasantly. Tanka, still wary but intrigued, considered her offer. Zhuang Xiaoran, confident and smiling, extended her hand to Tanka. Tanka, she said, let's hope for a fruitful partnership in the near future. Tanka eyed Zhuang Xiaoran skeptically. His expression was one of guarded suspicion as he thought, you won't cause me more trouble. Zhuang Xiaoran's expression shifted to one of slight concern as she pondered the realities of demon hunting. A question mark floated above her head as she considered the inherent risks. For most people, catching demons requires putting one's life on the line. Zhuang Xiaoran continued, emphasizing the dangers inherent in their profession. She warned Tanka not to underestimate the risks, even with his considerable power. Tanka scoffed, dismissing her concerns. He boasted, it's just child's play. I'm the most successful demon hunter in Lusong. Zhuang Xiaoran rolled her eyes, unimpressed by his bravado. She thought to herself, this guy, all these big words, it's just for bragging his own worth? Tanka smirked, finding their current situation rather dull. A guy and a girl being stuck in a room is too boring, he mused. He proposed a solution, if you manage to find a side job request, I'll agree to work with you. The scene opens on a dark, ominous landscape. The text reads, this is the outskirts of the safe district. A group of young people approaches a dilapidated building. One expresses apprehension, stating it's not a good idea to be there. Another reassures them, explaining that this is their secret base. The camera pans to reveal the aged, foreboding structure, the text confirming it as their secret base. The group stands before the imposing entrance to the base. A young boy, noticeably smaller than the others, hesitates at the threshold. While another member of the group, a slightly older boy with a cheerful expression, observes him. The older boy explains the rules of their initiation. They must close their eyes while the others hide, and once they count to 100, the search begins. Successful completion makes them officially part of the group. The young boy, having heard the rules, declares, "I'm going in." Zhuang Xiao ran, his red cap pulled low, sprinted through a shadowy, dilapidated corridor, emerging into a desolate, overgrown courtyard before an ominous, decaying building, where three shadowy figures, their eyes glowing in eerie green, watched him from behind a large tree. Three figures, hidden amongst the trees, watched Zhuang Xiaoran approach a dilapidated building. One of them chuckled, "Ha ha ha. That dumbass. If he found out that we left, he would have peed his pants." The three continued their discussion, one expressing concern about leaving Zhuang Xiaoran alone. Another reassured him, stating that it was the only way from their current location to the district, and he could walk out by himself. They also mentioned that his father's company was one of the 4 big corporations, providing a safety net should anything happen. One of the figures, wearing glasses, was more vocal, dismissing it as a prank and expressing annoyance that Zhuang Xiaoran's father's company had fired his father. He added that Zhuang Xiaoran still dared to dream of being his friend, and he wouldn't even play with him. The group continued walking away, confident that Zhuang Xiaoran would be scared. One of them even bet on him peeing his pants. Zhuang Xiaoran, unaware of the others' conversation, approached the old building. The sound of his sneakers creaking on the wooden floor echoed in the silence. The creaking continued as he walked down a long, dimly lit corridor, illuminated only by the small light from his phone. He muttered to himself, "I've searched the first floor, hopefully they are all hiding on the second floor." Zhuang Xiaoran, apprehensive, entered the dark building, his friends having just left him alone as part of a prank. He was warned that the rest of the class would find out if he told anyone. And his flashlight illuminated a shadowy figure in the distance. "Found one," he muttered to himself, his heart pounding. The silhouette seemed strangely familiar. That silhouette looks strange, he thought, a shiver running down his spine. As he moved closer, his phone's light revealed more detail. It was a girl's shadow, and Zhuang Xiaoran felt a surge of unease. Why would this place have, he wondered, his voice barely a whisper. The shadowy figure turned, and a chilling command echoed through the building, "Leave." The shadow lunged, its form shifting and growing, a terrifying apparition with glowing green eyes. It swooped down towards Zhuang Xiaoran with frightening speed. Zhuang Xiaoran, terrified, screamed, "Leave," as the spectral figure loomed over him, its presence menacing and overwhelming. He fled, the chilling presence pursuing him relentlessly through the dark corridors of the old building. His panicked breaths turned into a desperate cry as he ran for his life. Zhuang Xiaoran, eyes wide with terror, sprinted down a dimly lit corridor. The spectral entity that had been pursuing him vanished abruptly. He gasped, "It disappeared?" Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, "Play with me, please." He continued his desperate flight, a small, flickering light his only companion as he navigated the shadowy space. The spectral entity's voice echoed in his mind, a chilling invitation to play. A vibrant video game scene unfolds, showcasing a fierce battle between 2 characters, Leopard Tail and Hell Prisoner. Leopard Tail, a figure of fiery orange, unleashes a powerful attack, the screen displaying the words Leopard Max as the battle rages on. In a separate scene, a young man with silver hair sits on the floor, engrossed in a video game. He's wearing a shirt with a smiley face and the words "promotion increase." A voice, seemingly from the game, comments, "Hey, you've been on it for a day, still haven't found one?" The young man, clearly frustrated, looks around his luxurious apartment. He mutters to himself, "When can I get some work?" He begins to type furiously on his keyboard, a satisfied expression crossing his face as he exclaims, "Got it." A doorbell rings. Ding dong. A young woman with long black hair and striking orange eyes sits at the computer, seemingly startled by the sound. The silver-haired man ignores the doorbell. The woman observes him, her thoughts revealing her surprise. He doesn't even care if someone presses the doorbell. A young woman with pigtails and a Pikachu shirt, carrying a suitcase, entered a hallway. The black-haired woman, slightly apprehensive, opened the door to reveal a young girl with pigtails. "You are," the girl cheerfully announced, "Big sister. I got your luggage, and I've also sent your motorbike for repair." The black-haired woman's eyes widened in disbelief. "You couldn't be that 5 years old." The girl responded, "That's right, big sis. Pardon me for forgetting to introduce myself earlier. I'm the Tusk Mammoth Demon. He. You can call me Tusky." The black-haired woman's shock intensified. This isn't real. A monstrous figure appeared behind Tusky, confirming the woman's disbelief. Tusky happily declared, "I'm so happy today. I can live with my big sister from today onward." The black-haired woman, still in shock, thought, "This must be a dream. How can there be that 5-year-old child?" The black-haired woman, initially shocked by Tusky's appearance, commented on the unsettling nature of Tusky's human skin. While Tusky, unfazed, retorted that she wouldn't dare wear human skin. The black-haired woman then explained that Tusky's human form was achieved through a spirit nong, a small black ball that allows for bodily transformation. Revealing that her big brother, Tang Ka, had helped her choose this form. The black-haired woman's expression shifted to one of suspicion and concern as she questioned Tang Ka's involvement. The silver-haired man, witnessing the unfolding events, reacted with anger and frustration, berating Tusky for her actions and the inappropriate nature of her chosen form. The argument escalated, with the silver-haired man unleashing a torrent of insults. The scene opens with a question mark thought bubble above Tusky, implying uncertainty. The black-haired woman, her face partially obscured, speaks to Tusky, warning her about the dangers of human interaction. Continuing her warning, the black-haired woman emphasizes the importance of self-protection for Tusky, given her popularity with men. Tusky, her expression thoughtful, reflects on her sister's words, acknowledging the inherent risks of her human form. She reveals her true nature as a demon, explaining that while she can appear human, her true form is something humans would find repulsive. Tusky expresses her concern that her human form is a deception, a lie she maintains to avoid disgust from humans. The black-haired woman reassures Tusky, emphasizing that despite her true nature, she deserves kindness and respect. The black-haired woman reflects on her own harshness, questioning if she was too critical of Tusky. She apologizes for her harsh words, showing remorse for her earlier behavior. Tusky, the young woman with pigtails, smiled warmly, her words echoing the black-haired woman's earlier sentiment, "A really warm human." But the scene shifted, revealing a stark contrast as her eyes glowed with an eerie, demonic light. The word "because" hung in the air, hinting at a hidden truth. The black-haired woman listened intently as the man with silver hair observed, "Both of you said the same thing." A surveillance camera captured 3 children leaving a large mansion. However, a subsequent search of the mansion proved fruitless, despite the master's phone GPS signal indicating his presence within the building. Heat sensors failed to detect any trace of him, only registering the presence of mice. One man, in a suit, speak. Another man, silhouetted against a stormy backdrop, stood in contemplation as lightning flashed. The young master's locator signal, however, remained active within the mansion. A man, his back to the viewer, pondered aloud, "Is it the demons?" He then instructed someone, "Contact that organization. Offer a high bounty and find the best demon hunter. Save my dear son." The man's face, etched with grief, was contorted by tears streaming down his cheeks. The man with silver hair, bored, browsed a spiritual forum online. He found several posts detailing ghost encounters and other supernatural events, which he found more exciting than novels. He looked out at the city lights from his apartment, a thoughtful expression on his face. Then turned to speak with a young woman with dark hair, wearing a shirt with a smiley face on it. He explained that he needed help. The woman, initially surprised, asked if he had finally found a job after a long day of searching. He clarified that he had found a job request that wasn't a scam. She stated that it was late and she would review the details in the morning. He insisted that he was going crazy staying at home. She agreed to partner with him only because he could find work for her. She warned him that if by tomorrow there was still no work, their deal was off. The woman questioned his desire to hunt demons with her, and he explained that his current situation prevented him from joining the Demon Hunter Association, DHA. He had decided to rename Yao Changxi as the Demon Hunter Association, DHA. The woman with dark hair, pragmatic and slightly skeptical, proposed a partnership to the man with silver hair. She would continue to earn money while he hunted demons, a proposition she framed as mutually beneficial, highlighting the lucrative nature of demon hunting and the guaranteed income from her work, emphasizing that this arrangement was a win-win situation for both of them. The man with silver hair, though determined, expressed concern about the inherent dangers of demon hunting. The woman with dark hair acknowledged the risk but reiterated her need for money, her resolve unwavering. And he conceded, stating that his master was right. The woman with dark hair, now confident in their agreement, declared their partnership sealed once they secured work the following day, leaving no room for backing out. While the man with silver hair, relieved, decided to rest while awaiting good news. The woman with dark hair, though hopeful, expressed a degree of cautious uncertainty about the prospects of finding work the next day. The man with silver hair awoke with a determined thought: he needed to find a client today. Meanwhile, the woman with dark hair, eyes blazing with ambition, considered this a divine opportunity, one she wouldn't let slip away. She looked at a family photo, her thoughts turning to a reunion soon. She prayed for divine guidance in finding a client, preparing to leave her apartment. Stepping out, she encountered the man with silver hair. The man with silver hair and the woman with dark hair stood face to face. He expressed surprise that she had agreed to their deal, and she confirmed that she was ready to accept a large quest that morning. They walked together towards a large building, their approach observed by two men in sunglasses. The man with silver hair grinned, pleased with the size of the job ahead. The woman's expression shifted to one of apprehension as a monstrous, shadowy figure emerged from the darkness. The shadowy figure's emissaries, two men in suits, approached the pair, extending an invitation to a meeting with their master. The emissaries gestured towards a waiting limousine. The woman's suspicion grew, and she realized it was a trap. The woman with dark hair stood alone, her face obscured by a dark cloth. Beads of sweat trickled down her temples, betraying her inner turmoil. A black SUV sped through the city streets, carrying two passengers in the back, a young woman with dark hair and a young man with gray hair. The woman appeared apprehensive, while the man remained calm, observing the city lights. In the front seats, two men in suits sat silently, their expressions unreadable. The woman's eyes darted nervously between the men in the front and the city outside, a subtle tension filling the luxurious interior of the vehicle. She whispered to the young man, "You noticed it too?" The young man, with a smirk, replied, "They are demons." The woman, visibly shaken, explained, "I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, when I saw two ghostly shadows behind them." Approaching a large, ornate gate, the young man with gray hair and the woman with dark hair paused, observing two men in suits exiting a Hummer limousine. The young man commented on the size of the gate, suggesting it was excessive for keeping dinosaurs as pets. He then used his nether eyes to assess the two men in suits, revealing their aura indicated they were rank A demons. The young man, with a confident smirk, questioned when they intended to attack. Suddenly, two more demons emerged from the Hummer, stripping off their clothes. The woman with dark hair exclaimed in surprise, What are you guys doing?" The demons explained that to avoid misunderstandings, they were simply trespassing on private property and therefore had the right to initiate combat. They added that fighting this way would avoid any consequences. The woman with dark hair, confused, asked the young man what the demons meant. He explained that demons with legal identities faced harsh penalties for harming humans, except under special circumstances. He revealed that the demons were exploiting loopholes in their contracts, and their boss had ordered them to fight him within 5 minutes to meet him. The young man instructed the woman to stay back for safety as two large, shadowy demonic claws emerged from the gate, seemingly ready to attack. Two demonic wolf-like creatures howled, their menacing presence filling the scene. Their massive forms and sharp claws clearly visible as they stalked forward. The young man with gray hair smirked, his eyes gleaming with confidence. A powerful demon lunged at him, claws extended. But with a swift movement, he dodged the attack, the force of the impact causing a small tremor, leaving the demon momentarily stunned. "Your speed isn't bad," the young man commented. The demon, enraged, leaped again, its massive body creating a shockwave. The young man, agile and quick, evaded the attack once more, disappearing in a blur of motion. The young man with gray hair, his golden eyes narrowed in concentration, found himself face to face with a powerful demon, its monstrous form a stark contrast to the young man's casual attire. Meanwhile, the woman with dark hair observed from a distance, two more demons engaged in aerial combat above her. She muttered a warning, "Danger." The young man with gray hair, despite the immediate threat, smirked, revealing a confident expression. He had underestimated his opponents. He effortlessly dodged the demon's attack. His internal monologue revealed his strategy. He initially thought he only needed to use his legs to win, but he had been proven wrong. A close-up on his hand hinted at a hidden power, yet to be revealed. With a sudden burst of energy, the woman with dark hair unleashed a powerful attack, creating a shockwave that sent debris flying. The force of her attack was immense, shown by the ground trembling beneath her feet. The woman with dark hair shielded her eyes, her face contorted in pain as a powerful shockwave washed over her. The aftereffects of her own devastating attack still reverberating through her body. The woman with dark hair unleashed a devastating shockwave attack. A torrent of explosive energy slammed into the monstrous beast, the impact echoing with a series of deafening bangs as the creature staggered under the assault. The woman gasped, clearly weakened by the recoil of her own power. "What happened? Why can't I?" she thought, her vision blurring. Despite her weakened state, she strained to see the aftermath of her attack, muttering, "See anything?" Meanwhile, the young man with gray hair observed from a distance, his expression one of cautious anticipation as the monstrous beast lunged towards him. He reacted swiftly, dodging the attack with practiced ease, and countered with a precise strike, aiming for a vital point on the creature's neck. The beast roared in pain as the blow landed. The young man with gray hair, observing the weakened state of the beast, declared, "I'm done. Both of you, go down." He unleashed a powerful attack. A wave of energy erupting from his hands, striking the beast with devastating force. The woman with dark hair watched, her eyes wide with surprise as the beast was destroyed. She was still reeling from the recoil of her own powerful attack. A shockwave, seemingly unrelated to the young man's attack, suddenly passed over her, leaving her momentarily stunned. "Ha! An explosion? Something flew over me?" The source of the shockwave remained unseen, adding a new element of mystery to the already intense battle. Another powerful shockwave erupted, this time originating from the ground near the woman with dark hair, sending debris flying. The young man with gray hair, having already wounded the beast, launched himself at the creature, delivering a powerful blow that sent shockwaves through the ground. The beast, weakened and reeling from the previous attack, collapsed to its knees, its eyes filled with a mixture of pain and disbelief. "Admit defeat?" the young man asked, his voice calm but firm. But the Turbo Wolf refused to yield. "We, the Turbo Wolf, will not admit defeat as long as there is a glimpse of hope," it roared, defiance burning in its eyes. "You have guts, then I shall not hold back," the young man responded, his expression hardening. He prepared for another attack. With a burst of speed, the young man unleashed a devastating blow, his fist connecting with the Turbo Wolf's jaw. The impact sent a shockwave that caused the Turbo Wolf to experience an intense, chilling sensation. In that moment, the Turbo Wolf received a chilling feeling, a narration box explained. The force of that seemingly normal punch was far greater than it appeared. It was enough to unleash a catastrophic wave of energy that devastated the surrounding city. The sheer power of the blow was enough to destroy a city. The aftermath of the battle was catastrophic. A shockwave, unleashed by the Turbo Wolf's demise, ripped through the city, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Twisted metal and shattered glass littered the streets, a testament to the raw power displayed. The air hung heavy with the scent of ozone and pulverized concrete. The young man with gray hair stood amidst the chaos, victorious but visibly concerned by the extent of the damage. He had defeated the Turbo Wolf with a single, earth-shattering punch. The woman with dark hair watched, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and awe. Only 5 seconds have passed since the start of the fight, she thought, incredulous. What have I missed? Why is that fierce-looking uncle admitting defeat? Her uncle, the Turbo Wolf, lay defeated, his massive form dwarfed by the scale of the destruction he had inadvertently caused. Since Big Brother admits defeat, I will too, she muttered, her voice barely audible above the sounds of the ravaged city. The defeated Turbo Wolf and its kin, humbled by the young man's unexpected power, offered a formal apology. We have since heard of your prowess. We thought by putting our life on the line, we could hold out against you for 5 minutes. But, we were naive, we can't even last 5 seconds. We plead for your forgiveness with our highest honor. We are sorry, they stated in unison. The young man, still slightly concerned about the collateral damage, addressed the defeated creatures. Please. Put on your pants first, he exclaimed, his concern shifting from the city's destruction to a more immediate, personal matter. The aftermath of the battle unfolded before the young man with gray hair and the woman with dark hair. They stood before ornate golden gates, their journey seemingly continuing. As 2 figures in dark suits observed them from behind. One of the suited figures commented that the young man seemed to have lost interest after only a few blows, and thus, had no desire to continue fighting. The woman with dark hair then questioned the young man about the fight, curious about how many punches it took him to defeat the Turbo Wolf. He simply replied, 1. The woman, clearly impressed, noted that she had only managed to land 2 hits. The suited figures, however, observed something more profound. They noted the lack of damage to the young man's clothing, despite the immense power of his blow. They speculated about an invisible barrier protecting him. One of the suited men mused that this was similar to the legendary teenager's abilities. The scene shifted to the young man and the woman. With the woman questioning the young man's age and strength, wondering if his master had passed on all his skills to him. Tall grass swayed gently in the breeze, partially obscuring a large rock. As a pair of glowing green eyes peered out from beneath it. The eyes belonged to a creature that let out a low growl, the sound resonating with power. The young man with gray hair and the woman with dark hair walked side by side. The woman paused, prompting the young man to confess something. He revealed that he wasn't the one who originally accepted the job. The woman, surprised, questioned the origin of the job. The young man explained that their partnership was already sealed by his acceptance of the job, making it impossible to back out. A servant announced the arrival of guests to the young man, who was now inside a building with the woman. One of the guests, a man in a suit, commented on the young man's speed in defeating the Turbo Wolves, mentioning a time of 5 seconds. Another guest, a man with horns, challenged the young man, stating his desire to taste the young man's blood. The woman reacted with an expression of disbelief and annoyance to the guest's challenge, calling it lame. A masked man with red hair and horns, along with 2 men in suits and a woman with dark hair, observed a young man with gray hair. The woman exclaimed that the masked man was provoking the young man, while the masked man asked to hear the young man's claim again. The masked man revealed that the scars on the Turbo Wolves were caused by him, and that it only took him 2 seconds to defeat them. A fly buzzed near the masked man as he stood with his sword. The masked man swiftly moved, his sword creating a bright, star-shaped trail as he attacked. The fly was dismembered, its body parts scattered across the floor, and its remains continued to fall to the ground. The camera focused on the fly's remains, highlighting its segmented body. The masked man, red hair escaping his skull-like mask, challenged the young man with gray hair. Let's see which one is faster, my sword or your punches. The young man, seemingly unfazed, stood his ground as the masked man lunged, his sword a blur. A brilliant golden flash erupted as the young man countered with incredible speed. His attack, named Flying Fish Rising Sun, leaving a trail of golden light. The masked man's attack was deflected, his sword shattering against an unseen force. He was sent flying backwards, crashing through a nearby window. He plummeted to the ground below, the masked man's body impacting heavily. The masked man lay defeated, his sword broken, yet surprisingly uninjured. He noted, "He didn't even try to dodge my attack, and I'm pretty sure I did cut him, but it seems like he's completely uninjured and still managed to throw a punch." The young man with gray hair stood over the fallen masked man, his expression unchanged. The masked man, defeated, lay on the ground. His animalistic mask askew, revealing a hint of surprise and defeat. The young man with gray hair, confident and unfazed, addressed the woman with dark hair. He stated that he hated rude bastards who attack without reason. One of the men in suits, impressed, observed that the young man's actions were as expected of a top performer in YCS. The same man continued, offering the young man a job after witnessing his defeat of the masked man, his strongest bodyguard. The woman with dark hair explained that her son had gone missing in a haunted mansion the previous night and that YCS had already sent someone to investigate, but they found nothing. However, she believed he was still inside. The man in the suit, visibly distressed, concluded that if it was the work of a demon, it must have been skilled enough to evade detection from YCS. A distraught man in a suit pleaded with the young man with gray hair, "So please, master, please save my precious son. I'm willing to give you my entire fortune." The young man and the woman with dark hair reacted with surprise. Strong demon? Entire fortune? The young man, now confident in his abilities and newly employed, accepted the job offer. "All right. I'll accept this job." One of the men in suits watched with a worried expression. As the woman with dark hair remained anxious, her worry palpable. The father, overcome with grief, cried out, "What happened to my precious son? Why is he in a vegetative state?" Observing the scene, a woman commented, "He seems to be in a state of shock. I wonder what he saw." The father, desperate, pleaded, "Please wake up, my baby boy." Another woman, looking concerned, noted, on top of him, a shadowy, green, spirit-like entity was visible, seemingly causing the young man's distress. A young man with gray hair observed, "Damn, the mummy's fighting skills seem to be as powerful as mine." The father, distraught, questioned, "Did something evil possess my son? I beg of you, please save him." The gray-haired young man, assessing the situation, stated, "Part of his soul has been lost. If his soul still remains incomplete by midnight, he will die." The father, desperate, offered, his mother had long since passed away. "I'm only left with my son. I'll give you all my wealth, please master. You have to save him." The black-haired woman observed the unconscious boy, her expression one of deep concern. Pointing towards his ear. "There seems to be something inside of his right ear," she stated, "it's red in color." The gray-haired young man, already aware of the urgency, focused intently on the boy's condition. Activating his ghost revealer skill. A green, wriggling entity was revealed within the boy's ear. With a swift motion, he attempted to expel the entity, using a powerful energy blast. However, the entity proved resilient, narrowly evading his attack. The young man's expression shifted to one of surprise and slight frustration. "It escaped from my slap," he muttered. The entity, now fully revealed, manifested as a large, ominous, one-eyed creature, its presence causing a palpable shift in the atmosphere. The gray-haired young man, surprisingly agile, launched himself from the rooftop, a blur of motion, landing gracefully on the ground below. He grinned, a thrill coursing through him, the adrenaline of battle heightened his senses. "It's surprisingly fast. Now I'm pumped up," he thought, his excitement palpable. With newfound speed, he moved in a flurry of attacks against the shadowy entity possessing his friend. Announcing his next move, "This is my chance to show off." Flying fish. Sunset glow. He unleashed a powerful, swirling energy attack. A wave of crimson and gold energy slicing through the air. The force of the blow sending tremors through the ground. The attack connected, striking the entity with devastating force, causing it to recoil. The gray-haired young man, exhausted but victorious, faced the entity. His sword felt faster than before. "My sword seems to be faster," he exclaimed. The black-haired woman and the father approached cautiously, the woman asking, "Did you manage to catch it? What is it?" The young man, now holding two small, dark objects, noted the familiar green aura of the entity and reflected on his previous careless fight. "Let's have another fight. I lost in the previous fight as I was careless. That green aura seems familiar. My skill isn't awesome, no matter how small or fast something might be, as long as it's within my attack range, it's instant slash." He examined the objects closely, surprised. "Ha! Did it become a black bean?" Realization dawned on him. Scattering bean skill? Isn't this the Fong sect Taoism art? Aren't they extinct? A distant shot of a modern cityscape, the word extinct appearing in a thought bubble above. Later, at a modern home, a man in a suit observed one of the beans had been destroyed. One of the beans got destroyed. Another man, blonde, smoking a pipe, deduced the identity of the destroyer. To be able to destroy the bean, he must be from the Mao sect. The blonde man, lounging comfortably in a chair, smirked as he read from an ancient book. He muttered to himself, "It won't be long before we meet." Meanwhile, a red-haired man, his face obscured by a skull mask, explained his reasons for concealing his identity. He stated that as an employed wanderer, revealing his true face was too dangerous. However, he revealed that the gray-haired young man was deemed worthy enough to see his true face. He removed the mask, introducing himself as Xiao Ziyin. A distraught father urgently approached Xiao Ziyin, demanding that he retrieve his son's soul. Xiao Ziyin, however, requested to see the father's face before departing. The black-haired woman, observing the scene, explained to the gray-haired young man that Xiao Ziyin was categorized among those with self-awakened auras, similar to in-game superpower users. She promised to teach him more about auras later, provided he caused no trouble. The gray-haired young man, his eyes narrowed in determination, declared that if the Fong sect betrayed the teachings of Taoism, he would give them a thorough beating. He and the black-haired woman then walked away, discussing their next steps. The gray-haired young man questioned the need to wait until nightfall, noting that daybreak was only a few hours away. The black-haired woman explained that the auras of the demons they hunted would be more prominent at night, giving them approximately 4 hours to complete their mission. The gray-haired young man, eager to finish the task and return home, urged them to proceed to the Fong sect's dilapidated headquarters. As they approached, the black-haired woman's eyes widened, her pupils dilating as she sensed something ominous. A closer look revealed the unsettling detail. Her eyes had taken on a demonic, crimson glow, the sclera cracked and veined with dark lines. Her gaze was fixed on something unseen, her expression one of intense apprehension. A stark white shape appeared, a warning scrawled across it, "Don't go in." A mysterious voice echoed, prompting a question, "Whose voice is that?" A young woman with striking heterochromia iridium stood defiantly, surrounded by warnings, "Don't go in." The woman's eyes glowed intensely as she questioned, "Could it be that the demon inside my body has awakened?" Her vision distorted, overwhelmed by a surge of disorienting energy. Leaving her disoriented and confused, she found herself in an unfamiliar place and whispered, "Where am I?" She spotted a large old jar nestled in the undergrowth. And as she approached, she regained her composure, exclaiming, "Erp! I'm back to my consciousness." A skeletal figure, its form vaguely humanoid but undeniably macabre, filled the panel. Long, dark hair cascaded around a skull-like face, its empty sockets seeming to stare into the void. Orange-tinged, bone-like protrusions jutted from its back, adding to its unsettling appearance. The unnamed female protagonist recoiled, her eyes wide with terror as a skeletal arm, seemingly detached from the creature, lashed out from a nearby jar. The speed of the movement was startling. Her fear intensified as she watched the horrifying appendage move with unnatural grace. A sense of dread washed over her as she realized the true nature of the threat before her. The skeletal creature's mouth opened in a silent scream, its jagged teeth bared in a grotesque display. Its expression conveyed a primal rage, a terrifying glimpse into the depths of its being. The creature's anguished roar echoed in the protagonist's mind, a silent scream of pain and fury. I don't want to be locked up again, she thought, her fear escalating into a desperate plea. A close-up on the protagonist's eye revealed the depth of her terror. The reflection of the creature's horrifying form was mirrored in her dilated pupil, a stark reminder of the immediate danger. The protagonist, small and vulnerable, was shown floating in the darkness, a stark contrast to the monstrous figure that loomed over her. Her arms were wrapped tightly around herself, a clear sign of her fear and desperation. She was alone, trapped in a nightmarish situation, her only companion the chilling presence of the skeletal being. The scene ended with her huddled form, a picture of utter despair. The unnamed female protagonist sat huddled on the ground, tears streaming down her face. A stark white HUI screamed across the otherwise black panel. She sobbed, "Why did I cry?" A young man with silver hair approached, asking, "Why are you crying?" She explained, "That's not it. It seems that I went back to my consciousness and met a human mummy. It also turned into a faceless child." The young man observed, "He seems to have been locked in an urn for a long time. I can even feel his fear, pain, and loneliness." She concluded, "I'm not sure why I feel sad and still want to." The young man, observing the woman's expression, felt a pang of sympathy. Looking at her expression, "Why does my heart ache?" he thought. He pondered aloud, "Perhaps those are the human mummy's memories. Both of you have merged, it's normal to have some of its memories." The woman, eyes wide, added, "Wait, it also told me not to enter." The young man's expression hardened. "What did you see?" he asked. She responded, "Nothing. I'm not sure if I'm affected by it, but just by standing in front of this gate, I felt a great sense of uneasiness." The young man reflected, "Previously, I was thinking, why did the human mummy run off in advance? Turns out, not only is its sight skill better than mine, but it also has super strong senses?" He then offered reassurance, "With me around, what are you afraid of? Just stand behind me." The woman's eyes reflected the young man's image, a flicker of hope in her gaze. "With me around, what are you afraid of?" the reflection seemed to ask. The young man, his eyes gleaming with determination, offered a reassuring statement to the woman, "If there's any danger, just stand behind me." He approached her, his expression softening as he saw her state. He stated, "It's great that you are still alive. I'm here to save you." The woman, though relieved by his presence, reflected on his words, noting his self-centered and narcissistic nature despite his help. She thought, "Those words he said." She silently desired a sense of security from him, a feeling of safety in his presence. Fearful and alone, she urged him to slow down, exclaiming, "Hey! Wait for me. It's too dark, I'm scared." He replied that he couldn't slow down, explaining, "Can't do that. I'm pumped up for this fight." The woman's foot made contact with the ground, a soft swoosh sound accompanying the action. She found herself in a dark, ominous place, her fear palpable. A shiver ran down the unnamed female protagonist's spine, she felt as if someone were watching her in the dark. The surrounding atmosphere had shifted ominously, causing her to urgently call out to the unnamed young man, Tanka, urging him to quickly come with her. Tanka, seemingly unsurprised by the sudden change, turned and began to follow her. As they both moved towards what appeared to be a large, ominous structure. They stood on a cliff overlooking a dark, seemingly bottomless chasm, the structure appearing to be a floating island in the distance. A sprawling estate, seemingly floating amidst a dark, stormy sky, came into view. One of the travelers exclaimed, "We are in the sky?" A young woman with striking red eyes, her expression a mixture of shock and disbelief, questioned how they could have been transported so suddenly. She and her companion stood on what appeared to be a rocky outcrop, the landscape around them shrouded in shadow. A young man with silver hair, his eyes gleaming with an almost predatory intensity, offered an explanation, "We should be in another dimension." A young woman's hand cracked as she reached out to the young man, a sign of the strain of their sudden displacement. And he responded, "I'm going to use brute force to break through this dimension." The young man activated a talisman, unleashing a surge of lightning energy. The resulting explosion rocked the landscape, a powerful blast of energy radiating outwards. The young man unleashed a powerful lightning strike, aiming to breach the dimensional barrier. The crackling energy illuminated the desolate landscape as the two young adventurers stood poised. But to their astonishment, the attempt proved fruitless. Nothing had changed. The young man's frustration was evident, while the young woman remained shocked. The young woman observed, "How did that child go back?" The young man, his pride wounded, retorted, "Weird. Even your strike is useless." Undeterred, he declared, "Let's go. As long as we find the spellcaster, we shall know the answer." Approaching a grand, ominous structure, the young man and woman paused. The young man sensed nothing unusual, noting the absence of any demonic or spiritual aura. He concluded that their target was adept at concealment. The young man and woman walked down a dark corridor, the young man asking, "Do you sense anything?" The woman responded, "No." The woman's expression shifted as she pondered, "Does it mean that if we can't find it, we can't go out?" A grotesque, greenish hand emerged from the floor, its long, pale fingers reaching towards the woman. It then proceeded to lick her face. The young man reacted swiftly, pushing the woman out of the way as the hand lunged. She cried out in alarm, "Kya!" The hand narrowly missed the young man, who looked on in surprise, asking, "What's the scream for?" The hand quickly wrapped around the young man's arm, pulling him towards it. He looked confused, a question mark appearing above his head. The hand released a slimy, green substance that the young man found repulsive. He exclaimed, "What is this? Disgusting!" The young man, now visibly agitated, used the green substance as a weapon, spinning it around to create a vortex that repelled the hand. High above, on a dimly lit bridge, a young woman and a young man lay injured. The young man, noticing the woman's fear, spoke reassuringly, "You seem stronger." A sinister voice echoed from the shadows below, "Hee, it has been a long time since I touched a female. Still as delicious." The young man, disgusted, shouted back, "Stop your shitty act. Come out." Suddenly, two ghostly, skeletal hands emerged from the darkness, moving with unnatural speed. The young man reacted instantly, releasing a burst of energy that repelled the spectral appendages with a loud whoosh and boom. A monstrous, skull-like face materialized, its features grotesque and unsettling. It spoke, "Leave the female and I shall spare your life." The young man, protecting the young woman, instructed her to move further behind him. As the monstrous entity lunged, the young man braced himself, noting the demonic aura was 5 times stronger than the human mummy. A grotesque, serpentine demonic entity lashed out, its multiple appendages writhing with malevolent energy. Its multifaceted gaze fixated on its prey. The creature's horrifying visage was a mask of malice, its features sharp and unsettling. But before it could strike, a young man with striking silver hair and intense golden eyes materialized, a smirk playing on his lips. "Seems like this trip wasn't a waste after all. I finally meet a worthy opponent," he mused, a thrill of anticipation coursing through him. The young man, his back to the viewer, ascended a staircase, a looming demonic entity visible behind him. His footsteps echoing in the dimly lit space. The scene shifting to reveal the demonic entity confronting the young woman and the young man. The entity, addressing the young man, stated that he seemed unfazed, implying he was sent by the YCS. The young man responded curtly, "Stop yapping, let's fight." The demonic entity warned the young man not to be so eager, revealing that their boss finally allowed humans in, suggesting that their fight might end too soon. It then proposed a game. The young man, growing impatient, expressed his annoyance at the entity's excessive talk, stating, "I'm getting angry. You're bullshitting too much." The final panel showed a close-up of the young woman's face, a green, clawed hand reaching towards her, causing a look of fear and surprise. The demonic entity's appendages ensnared the young man, their pale, rope-like forms tightening around his torso, restricting his movements as the entity warned him against interfering, explaining that any attempt to break free would result in harm to the young woman. The entity's threat escalating to the possibility of her being turned into a pool of blood. The young man, despite the threat, remained defiant, his eyes narrowed in determination. the entity's words echoing in his mind as he considered the risks. The entity's appendages constricted further, the young man's struggle intensifying. The young woman watched in horror as the entity's power overwhelmed the young man, her own fear palpable. The demonic entity tightened its grip on the young man, Tanka, his body contorting in agony as he cried out, "Arg!" Tanka's face was contorted in a mask of pain, his body straining against the entity's overwhelming power. The entity, its voice dripping with cruel amusement, boasted, "I said that lying woman, if I was getting hurt, I could get power. I would have laid my hands on you. Humans are always swayed by emotions." Observing from a distance, the young woman's eyes widened as she realized the entity's true nature and its growing power over Tanka. The entity mused, "Kakik, I forgot to tell him." The entity explained, "The longer my hands have him trapped, the stronger the grip gets." The young woman watched, her expression hardening as she assessed the situation. She thought, "I bet he is in great pain right now, but soon, he will be silent." A close-up on the young woman's clenched fist, her resolve solidifying. She declared, "Now, it's our time to play." Suddenly, the entity's tendrils wrapped around the young woman, mirroring its earlier attack on Tanka. Bound by the demonic entity's tendrils, the young woman struggled, her body straining against the constricting grip. A surge of energy pulsed within her, and her eyes blazed with an unnatural, fiery intensity. The tendrils began to crack and crumble as the entity watched in surprise. Why did her aura suddenly change into that of a monster, it wondered. With a burst of newfound power, she unleashed a fierce punch, sending the entity reeling backward. The force of the blow was immense, a wave of energy erupting from the impact. The entity's form shuddered violently as the young woman, now radiating a monstrous aura, moved to free the young man. A beam of energy shot from her hand, striking the entity and freeing the young man. The demonic entity, weakened but still menacing, recoiled from the young woman's unexpected power, its grotesque form contorting as it registered the young man's sudden collapse. "I didn't expect you to faint," it hissed, its voice a rasping whisper. The young woman, empowered by a surge of monstrous energy, addressed the unconscious young man. "It's okay." Before you regain consciousness, she reassured him, her eyes burning with fierce determination. She clenched her fists, a fierce resolve hardening her features. "I will use this human mummy's power to protect you," she declared, her voice filled with a newfound strength. A close-up revealed the young woman's powerful physique, a testament to the immense power coursing through her veins. The demonic entity watched, its rage growing. The entity's fury erupted. "You bitch! I won't forgive you," it shrieked, its voice echoing with hatred and despair. Its weakened form collapsed to the floor, its many limbs splayed out helplessly. "Let's see dash," the young woman muttered, a hint of a sinister smile playing on her lips. The final panel showed the entity's face, now defeated and vulnerable, surrounded by a swirling vortex of dark energy, its power visibly diminished. The young woman had clearly won. The demonic entity, its many limbs writhing, loomed over the unconscious young man. "How long you will last," it hissed, its voice a chilling whisper.